Hi, good evening again. In compliance with Chapter 551, Open Meetings of the Texas Government Code, I call to order a regular voting meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Austin Independent School District on Thursday, June 18th, 2026 at 7:19 p.m. A quorum of the board is physically present at Austin ISD Central Office to conduct this meeting. The meeting is being broadcast on cable channel 22 through Spectrum Sound Broadband and on channel 99 through AT&T Uverse. Closed captioning in English is available on these platforms for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. Welcome and thank you again for joining us. We'll begin with our public testimony for items on the consent agenda. Members of the public wishing to participate in the public testimony portion of our meeting called a dedicated Austin ISD phone line in advance of the meeting to sign up to speak in person or to audio record their remarks. This is an opportunity for the board to take part in listening to our community. While we wish we could respond to each topic raised, the Texas Open Meetings Act does not authorize a board to engage in deliberation or take action on comments or complaints from members of the public if a subject is not on the meeting agenda. For comments related to posted agenda items, we will engage in deliberations or ask follow-up questions during the presentation of that item on the agenda. Tonight, we have 22 people signed up to speak in person and 54 who left a recorded message. And we'll begin with our in-person testimony. Each speaker will be allotted 1 minute, and no substitutions or yielding of time to others is permitted. Callers who signed up to speak in person will be invited to come to the microphone when your name is called. As you come to the microphone, please press the button to turn it on, and when the buzzer sounds, please make a final thought in 1 sentence. Whether you come to give a complaint or praise, please reference any staff member by position or abbreviated last name. And we ask that all audience members, whether speaking or not, please show respect for others at all times. Our in-person speakers tonight, we'll start with our first 5, Vincent Tovar, Emily Tim, Ella Rocha, Philip Taylor, and Claire Reuter.
I'm here to speak in support of Agenda Item 10.4, renovations at Gus Garcia. Please stop talking about moving Gus Garcia to Martin Middle School. I'm a longtime supporter of Martin, a former Gus Garcia parent. I understand it's a horrible time for the district. Please don't unnecessarily make it worse. If you knew Gus Garcia personally, you would know he'd be livid about this proposal. Neither Gus Garcia's community nor Martin Middle School's community were engaged about this proposal. We have a Martin Future Committee with a survey. We're continuing to get results. We want to invite you to see those results in person during the summer. Just please stop mentioning Gus Garcia possibly moving to Martin Middle School. I understand this is a game. Let's play to win for the kids, families, and staff. Let's stop playing not to lose to TEA. Thank you.
My name is Emily Tim, and I am a parent of 2 children at the Austin Independent School District. Our small neighborhood school serves a unique population with many immigrants and a large population of families in temporary housing. I know that the board had some really challenging decisions around the complicated budget situation that is due to poor decisions by state leadership and that we are facing the prospect of a TEA takeover. I've seen the critical role that support staff and specialty programming plays in expanding what kids even imagine is possible. This is especially true with access to full-time librarian who has time to work with children and after-school programming, fine arts education, and even things like transportation to support families to get their kids to school, which are all being considered for cuts. I urge the board to consider other options with public and staff input and to find solutions that won't have such a direct, profound impact on students, staff, and families.
I can't even press it.
No, you're good. It's on. Go ahead.
My name is Ella Rocha, and I will be in 4th grade student at Ortega Elementary. Ortega is a neighborhood school in East Austin with fewer than 250 students, many who are immigrants from working families. Ortega offers programs that make a difference in our lives, from the after-school program to the 4-H Ghost program to counseling and access to a library full of books. I am speaking to oppose the changes the school board is making to cut support programs, including reducing schools like Ortega to part-time librarians next year. Our librarian, Miss Graff, just retired at the end of last year, but she was so much more than just a librarian. She did our morning show program, our reading programs, and gifted and talented programs. She helped us find books that made us want to read and learn more. I am worried that if the library is closed half of a week and if librarians are stretched across more than one school, they will have less time to build programs and get to know the kids, and that will send the message that reading isn't important.
Okay, do we have Philip Taylor or Claire Reuter? Thank you.
Please consider broadening Agenda Item 8.1 to include immigrants who are justifiably scared to leave their homes. I was at the pool yesterday when the lifeguard asked me to change lanes so they could give a couple swim tests. I said, of course, and moved over 2 lanes. Curiosity got the best of me. Stroke, stroke, stare. Stroke, stroke, stare. A boy who looked to be about 10 years old went first. It was clear from his body language, a beaming smile, thumbs up, and a high five that he passed. Next up was an older girl, probably an early teenager. She was a harder read. Maybe she was masking. But in the end, the lifeguard had her sign a wallet-sized card, which looked promising. But what if she hadn't passed? Do we punish her by changing up the staff or closing the pool altogether? Pools, schools, it's the same thing. Even if the star were an accurate, transparent measurement of what the students know, we need to be supporting, not punishing, the families that are most in need. Resist the mandates that drown our families, keep our students learning, amend Agenda Item 8.1. Thank you.
Next up, we have Eric Ramos, Jason Rodriguez, Lori Renteria, Monica Flores, and Tracy Dunlap.
All right. Hi again, my name is Eric Ramos, and I'm here to speak on Agenda Item 10.4 today. While I'm all for having our schools improve, it's what our families and students need. I was taken aback to hear that an idea was floated to move Garcia to Martin. This district has a history of disrespecting, lying, and breaking promises to our community. To promise us when you closed us that you would talk with us before deciding what to do with the school, and then to hear that anything is being talked about before we have even received initial engagement is completely disrespectful in my opinion. So I'm asking that we please wait. As mentioned earlier, there is a committee that has already started engaging the committee or the community to see what we want. Please do not discuss what to do until we have been at least initially reached out to. We can do good things there still, but you need to do it with us and not for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have Jason Rodriguez, Lori Renteria? Thank you.
I'm Lori Renteria, and I support item 10.4 to renovate the fabulous Gus Garcia. Rumors are circulating that Gus Garcia wants to take over Martin. This I strongly oppose. In January, the superintendent, in an open Martin meeting, promised to convene a planning committee to reimagine Martin before the campus closed, so current student and staff who've left for temporary assignments elsewhere would have a voice in reopening Martin. That never happened, so we formed our own committee, and I urge you, the trustees and central office, to collaborate with us to reopen Martin in 1 year. It's not fair to deny the Martin community and its feeders input on our future. I've been a part of Martin for over 50 years as a parent, a PTAer, a CACer, a staffer, and an administrator. We deserve the right to reimagine our future. I gave you a handout about Martin.
Thank you. We have Monica Flores and Tracy Dunlap. I have to press this.
My name is Monica, and I am an AISD staff member and a parent of a student who attended Galindo Elementary. I want to share my professional and personal experience working with the program Communities in Schools. As an AISD staff member, I have seen how this program is such a great resource for so many families. I know I can always refer our families to CIS to support their children in school, but also for the things such as basic needs and connections to community resources, especially as a special education teacher in life skills. I've referred most of all my students and families. On a personal level, just 2 years ago, my daughter ended up experiencing a loss of vision, and that impacted me greatly, and it connected me more to my students and families. I found myself very overwhelmed, and it was a time that our CIS program manager was able to provide support and resources to me as well. As a parent, I was very concerned about how my child's health condition would impact her well-being, both emotionally and socially, but I can say I saw how amazing and impactful CIS was to my own family. My child has grown so much in this program. She found a safe place with caring people who created an environment where she feels welcomed and included. She participates in groups, and I have seen her gain more confidence and feel a sense of belonging in such a short time. Thank you, CIS. Please keep CIS in all our schools that we need them. Thank you.
My name is Tracy Dunlap. I'm a teacher at Maplewood and a proud member of Education Austin. I'm here to talk about item 14.1, the superintendent's contract. This is not a critique of anyone's job performance. I certainly recognize what a difficult time this is for our district and the stress we are all experiencing right now. What I don't understand is why you are considering an extension of the superintendent's contract tonight. Even more troubling is the provision to award a $1,500 bonus for each improved campus accountability rating. Our community is in mourning for schools that have closed, positions being cut. We're worried about how we'll serve our students with less planning time, fewer resources, and a TEA takeover looming. It seems insensitive and inappropriate to be discussing a 2-year contract extension and bonuses for leadership. We keep hearing that we all have to share the burden of this budget crisis, but it sure doesn't feel like it. While your boots-on-the-ground employees will struggle with an increased workload for less take-home pay, and some will even lose their jobs, upper administration seems to be minimally impacted, if at all. This is not a good look. Please consider removing this item from the consent agenda and show your employees that you are with us, not above us.
Our next 5 speakers are Cynthia Solis, Adam Mochigamba, thank you. I apologize, Amanda. Marcus West, Stephanie Quimby, and Giselle A. Okay, I don't see Cynthia here, so we can start with Amanda, Marcus, Stephanie, and Giselle. Thank you.
Hello, I strongly support keeping communities in school in Austin ISD. As a parent, I have personally seen the positive impact these programs have on students and family. When I was facing financial hardship, communities in school helped me and my child provide my child with clothing and school supplies. Their support ensured that my child had what she needed to attend school with confidence and focus on learning. Without programs like CIS, many families could struggle to access basic necessities that directly affect a child's success in school. Communities in school do much more than provide education. They connect families with counseling, food assistance, school supplies, mentoring, after-school program, and other vital resources. These services help remove barriers to learning and create a stronger support system for students and their families. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marcus West, and I'm representing JJ's Waste and Recycling, one of the 3 vendors who submitted a proposal under solicitation 27 RFP 003. We're asking the board to table this item before voting tonight. Vendors were told that this vote would take place on June 25th. It was moved to today, with no direct notice to vendors. That alone raises procedural concern that the board should want answered before approving a $5.5 million commitment. The financial picture here demands scrutiny. The board acknowledged a budget deficit in excess of $90 million at your June 11th meeting. The district's current contract with Texas Disposal System runs approximately $1 million per year. Tonight, you are being asked to approve a new contract with the same vendor at an estimated $1.9 million in the first year alone, nearly double the current rate, with no public explanation of why competitive proposals from other vendors did not represent better value of the district during a fiscal crisis. A scoring summary exists. It is listed as attachment 4 on tonight's agenda. Vendors who participate in the solicitation have reached out directly both by phone and by email requesting a breakdown of the scoring and an explanation of how proposals would be evaluated during that procedure. Those requests were denied. We were told that information would not be released prior to the board action, and yet at the June 24th, 2021 meeting, a full scoring breakdown comparable solicitation was provided to vendors, and a public note was made before the board made its decision. We're not here to obstruct the process. We're asking for transparency and the district's own stated goals: fiscal stewardship, sustainability, and zero waste. The public deserves an answer. Thank you.
Okay, we have Stephanie and Giselle.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Quimby. I'm with Texas Disposal Systems. I am here to speak in support of Agenda Item 10.8, approval of the contract for waste disposal services. Texas Disposal System has been a proud partner with AISD for over 20 years. Together, we have built one of the most successful sustainability programs in the nation. Through AISD's comprehensive recycling and composting initiatives, the district has become a national leader in landfill diversion per capita. We are incredibly proud of what our organizations have accomplished together and are grateful for the opportunity to support AISD's environmental goals. We look forward to continuing this momentum through innovative sustainability practices, programs, staff, and student education, ongoing training, and the exceptional service that AISD has come to expect from Texas Disposal Systems. Thank you for your time, consideration, and commitment to creating a more sustainable future for AISD students and for your community. Thank you.
Hit the wrong button. I'm a parent here at Austin ISD, and I'm here to talk about communities in schools, CIS. I would like to advocate for there not to be any cuts to our CIS programs here in Austin ISD. My youngest son is just graduated from Gus Garcia. Right before coming in as a 6th grader, he had experienced a traumatic event, which changed his entire personality. When he arrived at Gus Garcia, at that point he was experiencing disciplinary issues at home, disciplinary issues at his previous school, his elementary school. But because of communities in schools and the way that they really wrap their arms around every kid and helps them to learn all the coping skills that they need to be emotionally regulate and be able to focus in the classroom. My son is now, a straight A student. He has won leadership awards at Gus Garcia and is about to be a 9th grader at Lassa High School. All I want is for other families. I'm a single mom. I want other families to be able to experience that too. And so for that to happen, we have to not make cuts to CIS. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next in-person speakers are Peter Kim, Gabriela Garcia, Dan Schmidt, Whitney Roble, and Marilou Schmidt.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. My name is Peter Kim. I'm a substitute teacher and a member of Education Austin. And after listening to and trying to understand everything that was just talked about, all I'm asking right now is that y'all consider the impact that the budget that y'all have discussed is going to have on our students going forward into the new academic year. The fact that on-campus positions are taking such a huge brunt of cuts with over 300 of them getting let go versus 230 off-campus, that we're losing librarians and support staff, and to learn that the district is considering awarding performance bonuses to the superintendent to turn on campuses when we're staring down the barrel of a TAA takeover, just makes me feel like leadership is not realizing just how serious of a situation we're in right now. I wish I had a more actionable solution here to suggest, because I don't like just coming in and complaining about things. I understand that we're here because of the way the state has been deliberately underfunding us and wants us to turn on each other. And I feel like if this is the case, then the only way out of this is for us to actually work with each other. As my union sibling Tracy said before, instead of being above us, please work with us here. Thank you.
My name is Gabby Garcia. I'm a member of Education Austin, and I've worked at the McBee Library for the past 2 years. Last week, I found out that I've been offered to split time between McBee and Cook Elementary. Part of me is relieved, and the other part is desperately hoping that the trustees will vote to reverse this course and keep librarians at their schools full-time. I feel guilty for not feeling grateful that I still have a job, because I know that this will negatively impact library programming, and I believe our students deserve more. Then I zoom out and I think of the bigger picture and all of the essential programs and positions being cut. Each one is part of an important ecosystem that students and families depend on. I remember we're being pitted against each other and fighting over crumbs. This cycle will probably repeat itself next year, or worse, we will be facing TEA takeover, another issue that the district is not being transparent about. I'm disappointed and exhausted about how the district has rolled all of this out. Last-minute notifications, the lack of communication, the lack of transparency. I feel like a human ping pong ball. And all of this is made worse when we see that the burden was not equally distributed at the top. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dan Schmidt, and my child is a Lamar Middle School band and theater student. I've read every documentation the district has published about this budget, every referendum, every justification, and every footnote. And here's what I know. I know the board has made hard decisions, real ones, and I acknowledge that. But I also know that the programs being cut are not extracurricular. They're the reasons families choose this district, the reasons families stay, and they're the reasons kids show up. Your own colleagues have said it from that dais. You've said campuses are carrying the brunt. You've said people are suffering. And you've said not all options have been fully explored. And you're right. Austin ISD was once a district that drew families to this city. That reputation was built not in a boardroom. It was built in band halls and theater stages and art rooms and classrooms by teachers who gave everything to this community. It's not too late to protect that. Exhaust every option before you cut a single one of those teachers. Our kids are watching.
Hello, my name is Whitney. I'm a proud parent of a Lamar graduate. He spent 3 years playing the French horn there, having never touched one ahead of starting at Lamar. I hear that we have 5 positions that are slated to be cut, one specifically in the band department, all I think specifically for the fine arts department. I spend a lot of time volunteering with the band department the last 3 years, and it is very clear that 2 instructors should be the barest minimum. I know that next year they're expecting to have a higher number of students participating in the band, which will be even more impossible for them to carry out meaningful instruction. They spend time before school, they spend time after school with practices every single day. They coordinate logistics for UIL and special events. And like Dan said, you know, we chose our school district because we have great public schools, and let's get creative and stop starving them.
My name is Mary Lou Schmidt, and I am a proud parent of a Lamar Middle School band and theater student. We decided to raise our family in Austin because of what the city stands for: creativity, music, the arts. We chose Lamar because AISD offered something special: programs that don't just educate kids, they shape them. Our band director shows up every single day and does something no standardized test can measure. He builds confidence, he builds discipline, he builds community. And right now, his job is at risk, as are many other educators. Between 25 and 50% of secondary campuses across this district are already losing fine arts staff. Choir at O'Henry has already been closed. These are not budget lines, these are people. These are programs for families that chose this district to be a part of. When you cut the programs that make Austin ISD worth choosing, families leave. And when families leave, things for AISD get worse. We begin to lose who we are as a culture and a community. AISD was once a district that drew families into this city, and it can be that again. Please protect our teachers. Please protect these programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last two in-person speakers are Meredith Lowen and Jorge Mave.
Hi, I'm Meredith. I'm a parent of a band and theater student at Lamar Middle School and Fine Arts Academy. Cutting the assistant band director and theater director positions at Lamar would be a huge mistake. These are not electives for our students who are in the Fine Arts Academy. These are students who are embarking on vocations they are dedicating themselves to. It isn't a fun extra, it's their lives. My child has spent countless hours in theater and band after school, during lunchtime, and summer being taught, led, and mentored by these teachers who give way more of their time than they're paid for. When you make great schools worse, families will leave for private schools, and that will only exacerbate the budget situation. I cut out some of my talk because the reality of the situation in the classroom is that I'm getting emails from teachers asking for paper. Our teachers don't have paper. And it feels so much worse than it is.
Good evening, President Boswell, trustees, and everyone watching tonight. My name is Jorge Meave. I am a bilingual teacher. Excuse me here for just a second, please. I've been a bilingual teacher in this district for 30 years at Blackshear, Wadane, Maplewood, Barbara Jordan, and Pierce Middle School as a teacher and as an administrator across Austin ISD, Round Rock ISD, and Del Valle ISD. I know these children. Tonight, you are being asked to close schools where emergent bilingual students make up 14 to 30% of the enrollment, cut bilingual stipends, and reduce counselors in a single budget cycle. 3 decisions, 1 population. This district sends $715 million back to the state this year in recapture. Your own Gibson audit found $63.1 million in administrative savings, still only partially exhausted. The state's own data was released this week. Emergent bilingual students improving every high school subject. These children did not create this crisis. They should not pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our in-person speakers. Appreciate you being here. And we're going to double check just one more time. Philip Taylor, Jason Rodriguez, Cynthia Solis. Okay, thank you. So we'll now play our recorded messages for public testimony. So please listen carefully.
My name is Elizabeth Reese, and I am a patent parent of a rising second grader, kindergartner, and a 5-month-old. My husband and I joined the PTA before our son entered kindergarten because we know the importance of being engaged and involved in our school community. Our PTA represents only about 30% of our Band 3 school that is facing additional budget cuts. We're depleted and being asked, can we give more? We should be encouraged to recruit and retain more enrollment for our campus, but then we risk our own children's seats because of balance. It's summer. We should be on a break, but instead are in a constant state of fear with possible boundary changes. How much time, energy, and resources can we continue to give not knowing if our community will be sliced and diced? In the district's efforts to hit a target number, you are ignorant to what you are tearing down on your path of destruction. Our community lifts our school up, but our legs are shaking and our hearts are breaking. Stop chopping up our community and risking enrollment. We need each other to face the challenges of a budget deficit and an even bigger threat on the horizon.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Trueheart. I am an educator at Mills Elementary School. This message is directed towards Superintendent Segura and the members of the board. I would like to share my concerns as an educator directly impacted by the proposed staffing changes. One of my greatest frustrations is the lack of autonomy teachers have in determining how these changes are implemented. In my situation, my colleague was willing to accept the traveling position that I have been assigned, which would have allowed me to remain at my current campus, Mills Elementary, full-time. Despite this willingness and potential benefits for the continuity, collaboration, and campus stability, there appears to be little opportunity for teacher input in the process. Beyond my role as an employee, Mills is my community. I live across the street from the school and intentionally choose to invest in this neighborhood. My daughter is expected to attend Mills next year. Over the years, I have built meaningful relationships with students, families, and staff members, and have invested significant time and energy to helping create strong school culture. Being reassigned away from my campus would not simply be change in my work location, it would set...
Good evening, my name is Zeb White, and I'm a speech language pathologist at Doss Elementary. Austin ISD only recently exited years of TEA, special education, corrective action. That recovery happened because experienced teams spent years rebuilding systems, clearing backlogs, and restoring trust with families. The special education and bilingual stipends were vital to attract and retain the dedicated professionals who made that progress possible. My concern is that we are now proposing significant pay cuts for many of the same professionals who are essential to supporting our most vulnerable students. Our students deserve stable providers, timely evaluations, and consistent services, not another cycle of vacancies, turnover, expensive contractor reliance, and costly noncompliance. Please don't undo the progress that our students, families, and staff have worked so hard to achieve. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Reese Armstrong. I am an immediate pass student. I just graduated, a couple weeks ago, as well as the immediate pass co-chair of the McCallum Young Democratic Socialists of America, and before that, the Students United Union at LASA. I'm calling to speak on the budget because I have plenty of concerns. I believe that this budget is artificial austerity. We cannot let the state government allow our schools to shutter and our teachers to not be paid. I'd much rather we see us put it to the voters, a high tax rate increase to make up the deficit in its entirety, and let the voters pass or fail it. Because ultimately, the state's not coming to save us, we have to save ourselves. And I think that we are not going to save ourselves by cutting teacher positions and creating a doom cycle where, the schooling gets worse, people leave, tax base dries up, schooling gets worse. That's just not a sustainable solution for Austin ISD students. Additionally, I want to speak again.
My name is Jessica Levike, and I am the mother of 4 AISD students. I would like to speak out against the proposed hub system for the secondary schools in regards to keeping money in the budget. Our neighborhood is equidistant from our zoned elementary school as it is to our zoned middle school, and our zoned elementary school is a block away from our zoned high school. A majority of the students in our neighborhood utilize the school bus to get to school safely. Oftentimes, children walk to and from bus stops because their parents have to be at work or are not home yet. The terrain around our neighborhoods are steep hills with an inclined decline of about 500 feet. No sidewalks, no protection from the elements. It is unsafe to have our neighborhood students walking along these stretches of road up these types of inclines in wet weather, lightning, or even the direct Texas heat. Your policies must take into consideration the safety of all AISD students and the ease for children to get to school. Without children attending school, AISD funding will decrease. Keeping transportation for secondary children is of utmost importance. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Candace Byrne, and I'm a resident in Bolden Creek. I'm a neighbor from Becker Elementary neighborhood down the street. I'm calling to express my support for the recommendation that Becker Elementary be designated for adaptive reuse with improvements and not for sale. We request that our community be actively engaged in the process of identifying the partner organization chosen to lease Becker Elementary. We will continue to collaborate with AISD, administration, and city of other partners to preserve green and park space in our neighborhood, which is so important for all of the community and all the children that live there, and that the building be used for the education of youth, as the Herman Becker Trust indicated when they sold the property to Austin Schools for $1. We support public schools. We will work to ensure to pressure the governor to fund our public schools, and we want to be a part of a long-term solution to.
Hi, my name is Linda Anderson. I'm an AISD graduate and 15-year employee of the district. I'm calling tonight about agenda item 10.10, the development of the budget calendar for next year. I appreciate that President Boswell and Superintendent Sabota have been working to improve upon the budget calendar for next year, because the way the district has handled staffing reductions this spring has been devastating. It is way too late for teachers to be looking for positions. I have friends who are scrambling to interview for the upcoming school year. It is, months after districts typically begin the hiring process for the next school year. And so I appreciate that the district has heard our concerns and is working to improve upon that timeline for next year. And I hope that staffing reductions can happen as humanely and as thoughtfully and as early as possible if needed.
Hi, my name is Michelle Polasic, and I'm here to speak about the critical need for retention and teacher retention and recruitment. This year alone, our school has lost 11 teachers so far, and we're now limited to 1.5 teachers for specials. As a result, we're now facing teacher shortages so severe that we must apply for waivers to exceed recommended class size limits. Large class sizes means less individual attention for students, increased workloads for teachers, and greater challenges in maintaining the quality education our children deserve. Teachers are leaving because the profession is becoming increasingly difficult to sustain. Recruiting qualified educators is also becoming more challenging every year. Please, I'm begging you, don't get rid of any more teachers for each school. We are bleeding teachers, and our kids are devastated. Investing in teachers is investing in our future. Children, our schools, I urge you to support and provide resources needed to keep excellent educators in our classrooms. I also wanted to talk about, hi, my name is Michelle Polasic. I have 3 students at Hill Elementary, and I'm calling in regards to budget 14.1, agenda item 14.1. Cutting bus transportation is not a good solution because it creates barriers for students getting to school safely and on time. Many families depend on buses, and reducing service can lead to increased absences, tardiness, and transportation hardships. It can also create more traffic around schools and place additional burdens on working parents who may not have flexible schedules. Reliable transportation is essential for student success, attendance, and equitable access to education. Cutting buses may save money in the short term, but it can hurt student attendance, family stability, and access to education. Many students rely on school transportation to get to school safely and consistently. We should prioritize solutions that support students and families, not create additional obstacles for them. Thank you.
This is Shira Goldberg. I'm a parent and staff member at Austin ISD. I urge the district to prioritize protecting the people who work directly with students when making budget decisions. Teachers, counselors, librarians, and campus staff are the foundation of our schools. Every position lost that was in the classroom has a direct impact on students' learning and their support. If cuts are necessary, the district should look at reducing administrative costs at headquarters and among compensated executive positions before eliminating jobs that serve students every day. The burden of this budget crisis should not fall primarily on educators who are already being asked to do more with less. Please make protecting student-facing positions your highest priority and seek savings from administrative overhead before reducing the workforce in our schools. Thank you.
Good evening, trustees. This is Patrick Rosenthal, and I want to thank you and Superintendent Segura for continuing to make these difficult decisions during an incredibly difficult financial period. I wanted to raise a concern about the Band 4 elementary school cut. Next year, about 90% of the elementary campus level cuts are coming at Band 4 schools. My school is going to be getting a halftime librarian, a halftime art teacher, a halftime PE teacher, and a halftime music teacher. While I agree with the spirit behind these cuts, I wish that AISD would publicly acknowledge that many of these Band 4 schools have some of the most stable enrollment and lowest per student costs in AISD. There is still widespread confusion in our community about where district resources are being spent. Many people still continue to believe that schools west of I-35 receive disproportionately higher funding per student, and that misunderstanding is hurting productive conversations. The boundary process is moving in a positive direction, and while I worry about additional enrollment disruption, I agree that addressing these boundaries is long overdue. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Vera Goldberg, and I'm a parent and employee of Austin ISD. I'm asking the district to preserve neighborhood bus routes and reconsider the proposal to make a bus hub for Murchison and Anderson High School at Hill Elementary School. For our neighborhood, it does not make any sense. The elementary school being considered as a hub is actually farther for many families in my neighborhood than the middle school itself. And our middle school is Murchison is about 4 miles away, and students cannot safely walk there because they would have to cross 360. Instead of improving transportation, this proposal would require families to travel farther just to access the bus. It would also add significant traffic and congestion to Hill Elementary that already experiences heavy traffic during arrival and dismissal. Neighborhood bus routes exist for a reason. They provide safe, convenient, and equitable transport for students and reduce traffic around our schools. Eliminating them shifts the burden onto families while creating new safety and logistical problems. I urge AISD to preserve neighborhood bus service.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Foote, and I'm a member of the CAC at an elementary in Austin. I am also a taxpayer and a retired school librarian in another district. I am calling specifically about the budget item to cut full-time librarians at the elementary schools to half-time. And I note that 16 of the campuses are Title I campuses out of the 23. This is really a crucial service that the librarians provide to students at those Title I campuses. So I ask the board to carefully look at this decision and make sure it's in the best interest of students. Librarians have a significant impact on achievement scores and also on student enthusiasm for reading, which lasts them their entire school academic career. I ask for cuts to be made that are not so impactful at the campus level, where you need a counselor, a librarian.
Hi, this is Myra, a parent at Lakewood Elementary. I'm calling on behalf for the CIS program. My son is currently in the CIS program, and he looks forward to every week to be part of the PALS program. That it's his first year in first grade, and I know he's really looking forward to it next year. And I feel that if this program is cut, a lot of students will be affected by it, like my son and all his other peers in his classroom. And not only that, but also the CIS program has provided some funds during some hardship times, and that really has helped my family, especially since we are in a Title I school. Cutting the CIS program will be very detrimental to a lot of families in need. Again, I am asking to please find some funds to continue the CIS program for the 2026-2027 school year.
My name is Amy, and I am a parent from Wootton Elementary. The CIS program has helped us since we first started attending Wootton. From my daughter started Wootton at first grade all the way through fifth grade. This is one of the main reasons why we attended Wootton, for the great support that they have that they always provided, from the basic needs, from emotional support, from having lunch with my daughter, from from field trips, from anything that we needed. The program manager was amazing, and I'm so grateful that I was able to be a part of that program. I am calling just to let y'all know that this program is amazing for the parents that really do need help. And
hi, my name is Rachel Sastrina. I am a Proud Education Austin member as well as a Title I teacher. I work at one of your most affected campuses by these budget cuts. In fact, I brought this up with our CFO about how really protecting campus-based positions for my school matters so much because of where we rank on the SSRI index that you guys did to ensure that there would be class equity among the students of AISD, and yet you guys cut our literacy interventionists and our math interventionists. You expect these children to perform to keep their schools, and yet you get rid of the people that work with them. That makes no sense to me. You guys need to take pay cuts for your executive directors and eliminate redundancies at HQ because it should not affect the neediest kids in Austin. And it honestly is so sick that I have to say this on my honeymoon in an airport when I should be enjoying myself, but I'm deeply worried about my students. And we all deserve protection for these kids. And I hope that you can do that by not letting us pay your cell phone stipend.
My name is Madalena Leupold. I am an Austin citizen, and I wanted to talk about the budget for AISD. It cuts a lot of funding, and upper administration of this district has ignored workers' demands for campus-level protections every step of the way, cutting jobs before they've even come to a fully realized budget plan. This is worse for educators. It's especially worse for children, and I don't think it should happen. More funding should go into teachers, more for their salary, more towards children's education so that they could be strong, independent, happy people, and not I don't want these budget cuts going to the billionaires that run our country. I hope that my comment is heard, and I hope that the future of our AISD children is better than what these Board of Trustees are setting up for these workers.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Corey Blumling, and I'm an ASD art teacher, and I'm speaking on item 14.2. The budget is already impacting classrooms due to reductions. I am one of many teachers being reassigned from a campus where I built programs, relationships, and opportunities for students. We've been told that the 7 out of 8 teaching model will continue, leaving teachers with less time to plan, collaborate, and support students while being asked to do more. I ask you to protect the campus-based positions in student programs, including the fine arts, before making cuts that directly affect the classrooms. Please look to reductions at the executive director level above first. Students are not budget lines. They deserve support, creativity, and opportunities that help them succeed. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Corpus, soy madre de familia en Andrews Elementary del Austin ISD. Estoy hablando para apoyar a Communities en School. Muchos estudiantes llegan a la escuela enfrentando ansiedad, problemas familiares, sintiéndose desconectados. Los padres y maestros no pueden hacer esto solos. Necesitamos a Communities en School. Es tan importante. Ellos ayudan a que los estudiantes se sientan apoyados. Como madre he visto cómo mi hija se ha beneficiado. Ella era una niña callada y ahora es una niña sociable. Ella se preocupa mucho por sus grados y Miss Martínez la apoya mucho. Por favor, apoyen a Communities in School.
This is an interpretation into English of Maria Corpus's message. Good afternoon. My name is Maria Corpus. I am a mother at Andrews Elementary in Austin ISD. I am calling in support of Communities in Schools. Many students arrive at school facing anxiety, family problems, feeling disconnected. Parents and teachers can't do this alone. We need Communities in Schools. It is so important. They help the students feel supported. As a mother, I have seen how my daughter has benefited. She used to be a quiet girl, and now she is a social girl. She pays a lot of attention to her grades, and Ms. Martinez supports her a lot. Please support communities in schools.
Hi, this is Elizabeth Bravo calling. My two boys are Luke and Dalen. They actually go to Zavala School. I mean, I really would not like for you to take down the program that helps for low income people. I mean, it really helped us out. It impacted really well. I was really behind on my rent. I had a family emergency and I was not able to pay that. And I mean, the school told me about this program. I mean, it really helps out for light and for rent. Please don't take out the program. I mean, I get diapers with y'all. I get clothing. I got school supplies. I mean, it made my day. If y'all can just please try to keep up this program. I really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much. My name is Elizabeth Bravo, and they go to school to Zavala Elementary. Thank you.
My name is Alice. My daughter attended Harris Elementary, kinder through 5th grade, and just graduated. As an involved parent, I noticed early from observing the work that our CIS team did and by hearing my daughter talk about her participation in the program that communities and schools was doing critical work. I could tell they were filling gaps that our Title I school could not meet on its own. One-on-one time with kids having a hard time, dedicated time for children to explore their emotions, a trained professional to help them work through friend issues, creative, enriching activities and conversations. But it wasn't until I emailed our CIS lead and asked more about what she did that I realized how many real-life barriers for families their team was helping to remove. I cannot imagine our Harris experience without CIS, but more so, AISD would be shooting itself in the foot if it cut CIS. Schools that are already struggling to meet performance goals will have to spend even more time addressing real-life barriers to learning, like financial stability, homelessness, and mental health, and more. Please do not cut.
My name is Therese St. Arnaud, and I'm a resident of Boulden Creek neighborhood. I'm a neighbor from the Becker Elementary neighborhood, and I'm calling to express my support for the recommendation that Becker Elementary be designated for adaptive reuse with improvements and not sold. I'm requesting that our community be actively engaged in the process of identifying the partner organization chosen to lease Becker Elementary. Our group will continue to collaborate with AISD administration and city or other partners to preserve green and park space in our neighborhood and for the building to be used for the education of youth, as the Herman Becker Trust indicated when they sold property to Austin Schools for $1. Thank you.
Please do not vote Becker as surplus. Earn the Boulden Communities Trust back. A surplus designation is not required for AISD to begin the repurposing process. A request for proposal can happen before a surplus designation. AISD administration has the cart before the horse. Please work with the community for all the schools the Board of Trustees have voted to close. Some of those schools that this board has chosen to close were inexpensive to run and over-enrolled. If you did not follow your own data-driven rubric when you chose to close certain schools, how can we, the community's families affected, believe you will adhere to the recommendation of this new point system? Please, we need you all to focus on increasing enrollment, not monetizing properties. Monetizing properties is a short-term fix for a systemic problem. You cannot sell or monetize your way out of leadership's own poor choices. Please stop any boundary changes until you see the real numbers for enrollment next year.
Hello, my name is Mimi McKay. I have lived in the Boulden Creek neighborhood for more than 30 years. I have been a volunteer at the Becker Elementary, as has my husband, for almost all of those years. And I am calling to express my support
to make sure that Becker Elementary is designated for adaptive reuse with improvements and not for sale. This school is the heart of our community. The fact that it was closed in the first place is absolutely appalling. And now please make sure that it ends up being a resource for the community and that the community is engaged in all decisions in that regard. Thank you very much.
Hello, trustees. My name is Robert Kibbe, advocate for AISD school kids. I'm calling on behalf of communities and schools. I'm asking you to not cut communities and schools. Make sure they are funded 100%. I know times are tough right now, and I know the budget is hard, but evidence is that communities and schools are helping out our kids. We can get rid of other programs that may not be helping the kids, but communities and schools 100% helps the kids. Make sure that you fund them 100%. Thank you for all the work you do. Stand up for the kids. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Stockwell Abbott, and my residency is near Becker Elementary, where I've volunteered for the last few years, especially at the Green Classroom. And I really hope that we preserve Becker as designated for adaptive reuse with improvements and not for sale. And also that the Green Classroom somehow be preserved as a community garden. This thriving center of the community at least can be a buffer and continue to do the wonderful things it does for the ecology education. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Amber Welsh, and I'm the parent of a student at the former Wynn Elementary School. Students who attended Wynn this school year who are unable to access private transportation must have access to a school bus as part of this transition plan. Our community expressed concern about the move away from East Austin because it eliminated accessibility for the community it was created to serve, but we were assured that busing would be provided to maintain that accessibility on some level. Page 10 of the proposed budget, it looks like you're saving $17,000 by eliminating busing to the Riley Montessori program along with busing to other campuses. Please don't put additional cost savings on our school community that has already made the ultimate sacrifice of closing our campus to help the district balance its overall budget. Our school called each Wynn family, registered for Riley, and identified 25 kids who will depend on school transportation as their only option for getting to school. Let's get these kids to school like you promised.
Hi, my name is Lauren Millius, and I have a child who went to Wynn Montessori and will be going to Riley next year. When our community found out Wynn was closing, we expressed concern about the move away from East Austin because it eliminates accessibility for the community the Montessori program was created to serve. We were assured student busing would provide that accessibility. However, on page 10 of the proposed budget, you've eliminated busing to Riley along with other campuses. Our school called Wynn families registered for Riley and identified about 25 kids who depend on school district transportation as their only option for getting to school. Without access, these students will not be able to continue Montessori, and the program will no longer be accessible to the exact students it was initially designed to serve. I understand the AISD needs to make crucial budgetary decisions, but this is only a $17,000 cost, and our community has already made the ultimate sacrifice of a campus closure. Please don't put additional cost savings on our school community to help the district balance its overall budget. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Heather Chapman, and I am a counselor in Austin ISD, and I am calling to request the board delay item 14.1 and extending the superintendent's contract in light of all the cuts that are occurring across the district and the way classrooms are being impacted. I urge you to please delay extension of the superintendent's contract at this point in time, where there are so many other needs across the district where consideration and energy needs to be spent. Thank you.
Hello,
My name is Mindy Lejeune, and I'm a teacher at Bowie High School. I'm speaking on item 14.2. The proposed budget is not sustainable or fair. These cuts will hurt student learning by limiting teachers' ability to give students individual support they need. We have been told that the 7 out of 8 teaching model will continue for the foreseeable future. This means less planning time, collaboration, and preparation while teachers are being asked to take on more work. Like many teachers, I teach multiple subjects, sponsor student activities, and support after-school events. Asking educators to do more with less is not sustainable. This will lead to teachers leaving the profession. I urge you to make cuts at the executive director level before making cuts that affect classrooms, teachers, and students. Please remember that we are not numbers on a spreadsheet. We are people who deeply care about student success. Thank you.
My name is Tara Kernsey, and I'm a resident in Bolden Creek. I'm a parent from the Becker Elementary neighborhood as well, and I'm calling to express my support for the recommendation that Becker Elementary be designated for adaptive reuse with improvement and not for sale. We request that our community be actively engaged in the process of identifying the partner organization chosen to lease Becker Elementary. We will continue to collaborate with AISD administration and city or other partners to preserve green and park space in our neighborhood and for the building to be used for the education of youth, as the Herman Becker Trust indicated when they sold the property to Austin Schools for $1. Our family supports public schools, and we want to be a part of long-term solutions to funding our public schools. We believe that they are an integral part of a functioning society, and we don't want to see that really important community space be lost to a simple fee sale to the highest bidder.
Austin ISD lags behind local districts on academic rigor and on performance. Cutting programs that make the district attractive to families is not going to support enrollment or the academic rigor that we are seeking for our children. All of the changes or the proposed changes to Austin High, including the boundary changes, are really unacceptable, and you need to go back to the drawing board on that. We cannot lose our programs or the staff members who support those programs and our children. And I just wanted to offer that whatever nation you all think you're building, the community doesn't want it. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Amy Lorenz. I'm a resident of the Bolden Creek neighborhood, and I was calling about the Becker property, urging AISD to not put it on the for sale list, but instead the reuse with improvements list so that we can continue to leverage the property in the neighborhood in the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nikki Shuvas. I'm the parent of a student that was at the former Wynn Elementary School. We worked really hard in figuring out how to keep Montessori even in the world in which we unfortunately were losing our school. And one of the ways was busing. I see that $17,000 is being eliminated that was originally used to increase enrollment at some schools. And that $17,000 was well used because we were able to increase enrollment at Wynn by more than 100 students. Now that you are moving it more centrally, please do not remove access to the education path that has already been begun for our students near Wynn, 183 and Manor Road, who do not have access to private transportation and cannot get to continue their Montessori education without your transportation that was promised when the program was being moved. These are Spanish speakers. These are low-income families. So that is also needed to continue your DL program at Riley.
My name is Lori Barzano. My family has lived in the Bolden Creek neighborhood for 25 years. My daughter graduated from Becker Elementary. I called to express my support for the recommendation that Becker Elementary be designated for adaptive use with improvements and not for sale. I have volunteered and supported the school since my daughter's attendance. I am a longtime member and actively engaged in the Bolden Creek Neighborhood Association. I request that our community be actively engaged in the process of identifying the partner organization chosen to lease Becker Elementary. The Bolden Creek neighborhood and Becker community are committed to continuing to collaborate with AISD in the city or other partners to preserve green park space in our neighborhood and for the building to be used for the education of youth. The intention of the Herman Becker Trust when it donated the property.
We are Lamar Band grandparents, and we would like to encourage the board to protect our fine arts programs before the budget passes, to please take that into consideration. Our grandson loves the trumpet, and he's a rising 8th grader at Lamar. Thank you so much. We know y'all are in a tough position, but please help us out here. Thanks a lot.
This is Ani Killam, a parent of 3 at Wynn Montessori, which has been forced to close and transfer as a strand program to Riley Elementary. As part of our school transition plan, students who attended Wynn this year and who don't have access to other transportation must have access to a school bus to the new school. This is why 25 students chose to continue with the Montessori program. These are children who depend on school district transportation as their only option for getting to school. Our community has already expressed concern over the move out of East Austin and how it removes accessibility to the program for the very community it was created to serve. We were assured student busing would provide that accessibility. It looks like you only saved $17,000 by eliminating this bus service, a drop in the bucket when there's a projected $181 million shortfall. We have made the ultimate sacrifice. We were forced to close our school regardless of whether our STAR tests were adequate, and you know what? We knocked it out of the park with a C. Please keep your promise to give us the bus service so our students can get to school. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Vicki DeBusk. My family has lived in the Bolden Creek neighborhood for 28 years, and I'm an ex-parent at Becker Elementary. We are still heartbroken that our highly successful school was chosen for closure, but today I am calling in support of designating Becker Elementary for adaptive reuse with improvements rather than selling the property to the highest bidder. We respectively request that our community be actively engaged in the process of identifying organizations selected to lease Becker Elementary School. We strongly support public education and want to ensure this space continues to serve educational purposes, as intended when the Herman Becker Trust sold the property to Austin Schools for $1 many years ago. Please vote yes for adaptive reuse for Becker Elementary. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Mary Thames, and I am an Austin community member who believes strongly that the arts are non-negotiable. They make us all better, and I urge the board to continue funding and maintain staffing for upcoming fine arts programming next year. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Hello, my name is Amy Weepa, and I am a resident in Bolden Creek. I am a neighbor from the Becker Elementary neighborhood, and I'm calling to express my support for the recommendation that Becker Elementary be designated for adaptive reuse with improvements and not for sale. We request that our community be actively engaged in the process of identifying the partner organization chosen to lease Becker Elementary. And we will continue to collaborate with AISD administration and the city or other partners to preserve green and park space in our neighborhood and for the building to be used for the education of youth, as the Herman Becker Trust indicated when they sold the property to Austin Schools for $1. Thank you so much for your consideration, and I hope you make the right decision. I don't want Herman Becker's ghost coming to haunt you. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, my name is Jill, Jill Lutz, Lutz, and I'm a resident in Bolden Creek, and I'm a neighbor from the Becker Elementary neighborhood, I'm calling to express my support for the recommendation that Becker Elementary be designated for adaptive reuse with improvements and not for sale. We request that our community be actively engaged in the process of identifying the partner organization chosen to lease Becker Elementary. Thank you for your help.
Hi, my name is Frances Rodriguez. My daughter attends Pillow Elementary. I'm calling regarding of the CIS. CIS is very important to Pillow Elementary. They help all of our students that are needing help. They've helped me personally through my kids for mental, personal, financial. They are very helpful with everybody here. Not having them on campus will affect us here at the school. If we can please continue to have CIS here, we would very much appreciate them. Losing them would be a big loss to our school. Thank you.
My name is Miso Yang. I'm an AIC parent who relies on school buses daily. I'm here to ask the board not to balance this budget on the backs of student safety and equity by eliminating neighborhood school buses for secondary students and forcing a hub model. Shifting this burden to families ignores reality. My closest elementary school is about 7 miles away. Many families cannot simply drive back and forth, especially in the middle of the day, to pick up their children. The buses serving our neighborhood also serve underprivileged families in nearby apartment complexes who do not have the luxury or means to transport kids to distant hubs. As President Boswell pointed out, when you cut transportation, students don't show up. Slashing these routes will hurt attendance. Because Texas funds schools based on daily attendance, this cut will lose us revenue, wiping out any intended savings. Please find another way to preserve secondary transportation. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Holden. I'm actually a Austinite, born and raised. I just want to start off by saying I went to Cook Elementary, Burnett Middle School, then Anderson High School. Halfway through Anderson, we transferred over to Lanier because we moved, and then it was a Blue Ribbon School under Dr. Ruth Kane. The budget, I've never heard of an assistant to the deputy, to the assistant to the superintendent of schools communications. We need to really look at those positions. They do not do anything for our children directly. You're not in the classroom. You're not in the building. You don't know what these teachers are going through. I've been there. I've been on PTA. I've been at CAC. From moving forward, everyone on campus should not be touched. It needs to be looked at the central level, all the executives, all the assistant executives, all the deputy to the assistant executives. I hope the board does the right thing, does the right thing for the community, does the right thing for our children. Thank you. Have a great day.
Hi, I'm standing with Education Austin in asking that you prioritize students as you make budget decisions. The proposed cuts mean fewer support staff, larger class sizes, and fewer opportunities for students to get the individualized attention that they need to succeed. So I'm asking you to prioritize protecting campus-based positions such as librarians, special ed services, fine arts, counseling, transportation, and all the many staff that make the school function the way that they should. I'm asking you to instead consider reductions at the executive director level and above before taking cuts that directly impact students. My understanding is that most of these cuts affect campus-based positions rather than at the top-level administration, which sounds par for the course and should be reversed. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope you have a great day. I want my kid to go to public school. Bye.
Hello, my name is David Plunke. I'm a resident of Bolden Creek. I am a 30-year neighbor of Becker Elementary School. I'm calling to express my support for the recommendation that Becker Elementary be designated for adaptive reuse with improvements and not for sale. We request that our community be actively engaged in the process of identifying the partner organization chosen to lease Becker Elementary. Thank you for your attention.
Good evening, Superintendent and members of the board. My name is Irene Infante, and I'm an Anderson High School parent and guitar booster. I'm calling to urge the board to protect funding for our full-time guitar director position. This program currently serves over 120 students and has massive community momentum, culminating in sweepstakes honors this past school year. Tonight, I want to share what this budget line item actually looks like at home and impacts my students. My son Simon has ADHD, and finding this structured passion within the school week has been amazing for him. Specialized guidance, Simon's grades improved dramatically, and having excelled in the intermediate class, he is excited to move into the advanced program next year. Classical guitar is a highly rigorous physical discipline. It is critical that we continue to have trained expert guitarists teaching these students so they can maintain correct playing technique and avoid repetitive strain injuries as they advance. Getting a specialized director doesn't just trim budget, it dismantles a critical support system and college pathway for over 120 students. Please vote to preserve this position. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anna Hogue. I'm a resident of Bolden Creek and also a parent of two Becker Elementary school kids. I'm calling to express my support for the recommendation that Becker Elementary be designated for adaptive reuse with improvements and not for sale. I request that our community be actively engaged in the process of identifying the partner organization chosen to lease Becker Elementary. We will collaborate, the community will collaborate with AISD administration and cities and the city and other partners to preserve green and park space in our neighborhood for the building and for the building to be used for the education of youth, as Herman Becker Trust indicated when they sold the property to Austin Schools for $1. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good evening, superintendents and members of the board. My name is Simon Aguilar, and I am representing Anderson High School's classical guitar program. Today, I'm particularly asking that you keep our guitar director in his position. This last year, we have improved so much from the past. We've been able to improve our concerts. We've sent intermediate and advanced classes to competitions. We've sent soloists to competitions. We've gotten sweepstakes in our competitions, and we were able to set up a booster club. Such a passionate teacher, and he was really able to bring this up from the ground. The people really want him back, and we were having so many petitions and things being made before the end of the year so that he wouldn't. I don't know what happened to those, but I promise you that we really need him, and we all want him back. That's all.
My name is Kathy Wilson, and I'm a resident in Bolden Creek. I'm also a parent to two children that attended Becker Elementary and are still AISD students. I am calling to express my support for the recommendation that Becker Elementary be designated for adaptive reuse with improvements and not for sale. We request that our community be actively engaged in the process of identifying the partner organization chosen to lease Becker Elementary. We will continue to collaborate with AISD administration and city or other partners to preserve green and park space in our neighborhood and for the building to be used for the education of youth, as the Herman Becker Trust indicated when they sold the property to Austin Schools for $1. Thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, hi, my name is Stuart. I'm a parent and a resident in Bolden Creek. I live at 1107 South 6th Street, and I just wanted to call ahead of the meeting and express my support for the AISD recommendation that Becker be designated for adaptive reuse with improvements and not be sold. We request that the community be engaged in the process to identify Becker as a property that should not be sold, and we'd like to be continually collaborated with the AISD administration. And we would like to just remind you that the Herman Becker Trust indicates that when they sold the property to Austin for $1, it was to remain as an educational facility. So thank you for your time, and please work to ensure that Becker remains part of the community. Thank you very much.
The fine arts programming single-handedly saved my life. I am now 26-year-old. My name is Fatima Cisneros Acevedo. I'm connected to AISD because I'm currently a teacher assistant at the school that is now closing down, Ridgetop. Luckily, I was able to keep my job and I will transition to Pickle Elementary. I have been in the fine arts programming since I was 11 years old. Without it, I don't think I would have become the person that I am. I may not have the opportunities that I have had. I am so lucky in this life, and it is because of my connection through the fine arts programming via Austin Soundwaves. They taught me the violin, and I saw them grow as a nonprofit. They really serve each child that they can. And without these meaningful programs in your schools, I don't think you will actually produce very happy members of society. You are responsible for our children, and I really believe that it's time to protect these programs and act like that. So thank you so much. I love Austin Soundwaves. I currently volunteer.
Hello, I'm a neighbor of the Becker School in Bolden Creek. I live only 2 blocks away, and I'm very much against that property being developed for anything other than some similar use to education. It's fundamental to the neighborhood, and it's historic, and it's really functional building. It would be terrible to tear it down or put up condos or something like that. The traffic would be awful, and it's so useful, and it's been such a great place for the kids. My name is Art Goldstein, and I live on South 6th Street. Thank you.
My name is Melissa Watkins, and I'm a parent at Anderson High School. I'm here to ask you to protect the classical guitar program by ensuring that there are both beginning and intermediate classes available next year. This program depends on a pipeline of students. If incoming freshmen and intermediate level students are not able to enroll due to recent budget cuts, the program doesn't just shrink, it begins to disappear. Within a year or two, there won't be enough students to sustain the program at Anderson. This matters especially because classical guitar is one of the most affordable fine arts options at Anderson. Band costs around $500, which puts this out of reach for many families. Guitar gives students a way to participate in music without that financial barrier. If access to guitar is reduced now, the students most affected will be the ones who already have the fewest options. Please ensure that this pathway remains intact at Anderson so that all students, not just those who can afford more expensive programs, have access to music education. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our callers and all of our people who joined us in person to testify. This concludes our public testimony for the voting meeting. Please feel free to share comments or questions with the board by email at trustees@austinisd.org as well. Trustees, if we have any questions or comments regarding non-agenda topics raised in the public comment, you're welcome to share them now, but in doing so, please note that the district is limited to providing basic factual information in response to questions or needed clarification, identifying existing Austin ISD policies and resources for reference, or noting a topic for follow-up or inclusion on a future meeting agenda. Do we have any follow-up to that? Trustee De Urioste.
I have a question regarding bidders for an open contract making public comment. Is that a violation of the restricted contact period? Is that considered soliciting the board?
Probably. Well, we can talk about it in exec.
My question was going to be whether we have exec prior to a vote on the consent agenda. Are we going to have, or can we?
We do have an exec session. Yes, we are having one after public comment. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for that. So before we move on to the rest of our agenda, the board will briefly convene an executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code sections 551.071 and 551.074 to address a portion of our work under item 15.1, executive session. And the time is now 8:42 p.m. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We've now returned to open session at 9:02 p.m. We have a brief president's report. I'd like to honor Dr. Marilyn Crow, who passed away on May 21st. Dr. Crow dedicated 43 years to education as a teacher and elementary school principal and was a respected leader in science education throughout Texas. After she left Austin ISD, she founded Crow's Nest Farm which generations of Austin ISD students still go to field trips on and is a really important part of our community. I'll take a point of privilege. My daughter's class hatched duck eggs in second grade, and the baby ducks moved to Crow's Nest Farm, and before they did on their way, they lived in our bathtub for a little while. So Dr. Crow's service and commitment positively impacted countless students, educators, and families, and we appreciate her service in the district and her service in other ways to students in our community. So on behalf of the board, we extend our condolences to her family and her loved ones, and we honor her legacy of educational excellence and community service. Our next item is committee reports. We've posted the written committee report as an attachment to this item on our board docs agenda. It includes a committee report from the board policy committee, and our next item is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Boswell. This is going to be a brief presentation. We're going to focus on the transitions. It was a big area of focus during the spring semester, and G.A. Kimbatra and I will go through the presentation. So the first slide is our roadmap. Many months ago when we started this work, we laid out milestones across the spring semester into the summer to ensure that we had a successful launch, certainly recognizing that transitions are disruptive. We want to be very intentional. We created resources. We collaborated with principals. We had conversations with the community. And all of that, I think, has led to a very successful transition thus far. On the next slide, you'll see just a brief status of where we are regarding the moves. You can see here that the majority of the moves have been completed. The only one that is pending is beta check, and that's just a function of capacity, moving, packing, vendor schedules, and everything else. On the right-hand side, what you'll see is an outstanding item tracker. GA and the team very intentionally have been tracking kind of the one-off tasks that come about whenever you are moving, and there are lots of things happening. So just wanted our trustees and families and community to know that this work has been very intentional. It's been very difficult. Anytime you do something like this, there's going to be certainly a level of stress, but also a lot of complexity, and I'm just really grateful for the work that's been done. We're in a good spot as we start the summer. So with that, I'll hand it to GA to take us through the remainder of the slides.
Good evening, trustees. So the next slide shows the new school year checklist that we have created and provided to all of our receiving school principals. So the new year, before we get to open the schools and the doors to our students and families, want to ensure that our principals are equipped with everything that was promised. So our detailed list just reviews through all the things that they're supposed to be they're supposed to have at their campus, from furniture to instructional materials to fine arts program readiness to PE athletic equipments to our student and staff devices. So we've gone through detailed lists to provide support to our campus principals. The last bullet that you see, I want to point out the AISD Toolkit for Care that our Bridge team created at the very beginning of our consolidation work to support our campuses. We wanted our principals to be intentional even after the school year starts, because it offers lots of activities, lots of resources for our principals to create events or activities to provide to our students and staff members to bring them together intentionally and to support their social and emotional learning and well-being of our students and staff. So we are bringing that back. We also are offering campuses to request any support from our Bridge team as the year begins, and we'll continue that kind of support so that we are listening to the needs of our campus leaders as they open the school. The next one that I want to point out, I want to give kudos to our DCC team. When we brought up the idea of, hey, what are we doing with our school websites of the campuses that are closing? We want to be really thoughtful and intentional. We didn't want our families to go to the website and get the 404 error message. So what we decided to do is to launch a district-wide campus legacy of learning webpage. So if the parent goes to the closing school website, it'll all route to that landing site where you'll see the screenshot of our landing site on the right side. where each campus is highlighted, and we are including campus transition information, repurposing process, also how to find their zone school, and then share their stories, meaning our visitors can click on Share My Story and Memories, where they can contribute to the district story, the school story, so that we can curate them for each campuses. So I just want to give kudos to our DCC team for that thoughtfulness. And also another thing, our move coordinators were moving, and somebody said, what are we doing with the phone lines? The office phone keeps ringing and no one is able to pick it up. So we also then reached out to RIT. We are creating a welcome and closure message for all of our closing campuses, and it'll inform any callers how to contact the district for enrollment information, and then the transition support. So we're changing all of our greetings as well on the phone line. I will hand it over to
Yes. So just a brief update where we are at enrollment. We've shared information before. The team has been very intentional about connecting with families through phone banks, through other various forms of communication. There's a lot, I think, of ground that the team has covered. Currently, right now, 70% of the students are registered for the 26-27 school year, and given where we've started and kind of compared to the rest of the district, this is a very healthy percentage. As we move to the next slide, just to show kind of what that breakdown looks like, 2,400 or 2,419 students have registered as of June 15th. This is the school that they were previously assigned to and enrolled at, and where they are going. This is moving all the time, but you can see here the breakdown, and anybody that we haven't contacted, we continue to follow up via phone bank, and Victoria and the team have been doing a really great job of just making sure that our families know that we are ready to welcome them, we're prepared. The communities have gone through the process and have begun to build what the new community is going to look like and feel like. So just wanted to provide a breakdown in case there are any questions around what it looks like campus by campus. As we go to
Can you explain that one just a little bit more? Each bar represents the 25-6 enrollment?
Correct.
And then the breakout?
It's so the students that have already registered at a campus will attend a zone school. Because what happened in many campuses, there was an assigned school, right? And so if that's the assigned school, then we identified that as registered. Will attend zone school. In some cases, there's a student with that transferred in, and they're actually just going to stay at the school that they are zoned to, but not the school that they were enrolled at. Moving out of Austin, families communicated with us that they're moving out. We put that on there as well. Not returning, we don't necessarily know for every reason that student may not returning. Waitlisted, they have other options they're pursuing, and they haven't had confirmation one way or the other, so they're waiting for that. Other, and then unknown. So those are in the minority. The other, and then unknown is just we don't have a sense for kind of what that family is deciding yet, and that's where the phone bank comes in, right? So they've been reaching out consistently over the last many weeks, and we're going to continue to do that. And just so that we're all on the same page, this trend is actually in many ways kind of better than what we see at lots of other campuses. I think the intentionality around reaching out has really gotten these numbers to be the way they are. So yeah, that's how it's.
Cool. And then it does seem like and I just have one more question because I just want to understand this. And it does intuitively seem like good numbers, and it seems like y'all are doing great work. The moving out of Austin, the not returning, those are folks who so indicated, right?
Correct.
This is verbally confirmed on our phone calls.
Yeah.
Verbally confirmed on a phone call.
Right.
And to the question I asked much earlier about forecasting, this is almost like using negative data. Like, is this emergent useful data a confirmation of a not return? So we closed Ridgetop, we have Riley reconfigured, and we have this many folks confirming they're not reattending. can you extrapolate or use that data to help us with our enrollment, and maybe not?
It's helpful with staffing for sure. Victoria, takes this information. She uses it to supplement other information that we use to back up the enrollment data, which is what we use for staffing. So it is helpful. One of the things that we know about our school communities is that in some areas, registration enrollment gets to 98%, almost 100% before the summer starts. In other cases, registration enrollment doesn't complete till 3 weeks after school begins. And that's just, that's just part of who we are as an organization, as a community. And so these are not out of alignment, I think, with the trends that we've seen historically, school by school. But yeah, it does help inform other systems that we use.
And we do anticipate that our families will show up at our closer schools at the end of the summer. So we are actually creating signs to post at the front door and also the yard signs around the school that have already closed, so that we can help guide our families to redirect their attention to where they can actually register and enroll their children. And our principals also have been charged with, if you guys are helping with the family to enroll, and if there is a sibling or two that is not at your level, we're still going to enroll all of the children within that family. That's been tasked with our principals.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this is, I believe, is the last slide. And I told Matthias that this is the most important slide when we were talking about it. And as you can see on the left side, I intentionally named every single campus principal at a closing campus. And I really do want you to direct your attention to the pictures. And those are just a few pictures of what a school might look like at a closing campus. And these are just pictures from one space. So when I and MOVE coordinators and our folks walk these campuses, the magnitude of the work that our campus principals had to bear is just beyond my words that I can't describe. So I just want to name every single principal that had to lead through the fire to close every campus on this list. I do think they deserve a great deal of recognition and celebration for their leadership. And it's not just the leaders led, but our staff members at each of these campuses. They rolled their sleeves up and they packed up hundreds and hundreds of boxes of things. So I just want to recognize everybody's work and effort. And then we do have other impacted campus leaders that are receiving a significant number of students. And so they're receiving a large number of furniture, instructional materials, and they had to get their campuses ready to accommodate the things that were moving into their campuses. So I just wanted to point this out to let you guys know that we have really amazing people in this school district that really care for our students and our families. And they will deserve every single recognition that we can give. That's it.
All right. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that acknowledgement and that heart. Thank you, because I know this was really, really hard, emotionally, practically, in every way. So thank you for that. Trustees, any questions or comments about this? All right, thank you. I think my only question is there a plan to have on the first day of school for families who normally just show up to school? Not everyone follows all of this. For anyone who might not know, will there be a plan to have someone at those campuses to meet families and help them?
Yes, our enrollment effort will continue through this and throughout the first few weeks of school.
Yeah, and then President Boswell, generally speaking, the start of every school year, central office deploys to campuses. Any campus that's going through a modernization or a big construction project or anything that's just wherever there's more help. And so this is going to be an area of focus for us as well, just to make sure there's a presence there in case families go there.
Thank you. I know you had thought it through. Nice to know what that will be. Thank you. Okay, our next item is Mendez and Third Future 1882 update. As part of our 1882 agreement with Third Future at Mendez, we've asked our partner to provide quarterly updates. A recorded presentation and supporting data were provided in advance of tonight's meeting and are found in board docs. And as discussed, the Mendez team won't be present for Q&A today. So does anyone have questions for our administration? I know that it's Mendez is the one, third teacher is the one who has operated that school fully independently. So I think we good? Trustee Kaufman.
So, do we have, the way that we measure our progress in middle schools, is it apples to apples when we're comparing to Mendez and Third Future? So when they report the student achievement in their, data like they presented today, do we have apples to apples comparisons of those, or is it they just measure it in a different way?
From accountability perspective, summative data that we receive from Texas Education Agency comes to us first. And then, we send it along, but we also run our own.
Right. I'm sorry, but they didn't report accountability data here. They reported their kind of map growth and
Correct.
Students to achieve. So I'm wondering, the way that we use map growth and the intervals at which we administer it, do we have apples to apples comparison to see how the results they reported in tonight's report compared to how our middle schools did this year?
I wouldn't say apples to apples. I think one of the ways that they measure growth, and they talk about number of, like a student grew 1.5 years this year. We don't use map that way, so it's not apples to apples, but the same base and raw data could be compared against one another. We'd have to break it out.
And I misspoke. I mentioned our schools, but Mendez is one of our schools and always has been, even under the management of Third Future. So I misspoke when I said that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on this? All right. Thank you all. So we'll now move to the consent agenda. Trustees, are there any consent agenda items anyone would like to pull for a separate vote? All right, Secretary Foster. Oh, wait, 1 second. Not yet. Okay. So Secretary Foster, do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve consent agenda items 8.1 to 8.6, 9.1 to 9.3, 10.1 to 10.10, 11.1, 12.1 to 12.4, 13.1 to 13.4.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, having a motion by Secretary Foster and a second by, is there any discussion on any of these items first? Trustee Kaufman.
Just curious, on item 13.4 on the student awards and scholarships, is there a communication plan for how that will be, how the changes will be communicated to campuses and then to the families of campuses where those changes are impacting them?
I don't have one in front of me that I can refer to. What I can do is have Edna, Josh, and Christina kind of provide something to our trustees. Unless they're able to speak to it now, I just don't have it in front of me. Would that be okay?
Yeah, actually, I'll just put it as a request that
Okay.
a thoughtful communication plan is considered for how to communicate that information to families, because a lot of families do place a lot of stake in the awards that are being impacted. So just want to make sure they understand in advance and it's not a surprise to them next award season. No response needed, just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Yeah, we got it.
Thank you. Anyone else? I just have one. We had on 11.1 a lot of people calling about the Becker property specifically, and can you just explain what the declaration of surplus means?
Yeah, so we created a process probably close to a year ago where we defined what surplus was going to mean for Austin ISD and how it was different than excess. Surplus was really a definition that was created that gave the administration the ability to evaluate properties. And so once the school consolidation process occurred, the properties that we wanted to explore because they were clearly, well, most likely not going to be used for programmatic use and tied to the academic vision and framework. We put into a surplus process, which was defined. We had a rubric. It's been shared with our community. We got feedback on it, and we used the rubric to evaluate all the properties. At that point, not all of them went all the way through because it's going to be kind of phased. And so through that feedback loop with community, properties were identified as being focused for monetization, repurposing, kind of a different use. And each one of these we provided examples so that our community could see this is what it looks like in Austin ISD. And so through those conversations, we ended up with recommendations, and those recommendations are what are before the board. And so for the families that were calling in about Becker, Becker's is a unique kind of site because there are multiple tracts of property all tied to one site. So we have been in contact with the Bolden Creek community. We've had meetings. I've had meetings. Staff's had meetings. And when we think about what a repurposing solution could look like, one of the examples we use for Becker is what we did at Pease, where we kind of retain the facility, we enter into an agreement with a partner and activate the site in a way that I think aligns with kind of the intended use of the original site and charter and deed, but also in a way that allows us to kind of reduce the overall kind of expense of holding that site in the way that we used to. So that's what that is.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Okay, anything else before we vote? Okay, having a motion by Secretary Foster, a second by Trustee Quintana to approve consent agenda items 8.1 through 8.6, 9.1 through 9.3, 10.1 through 10.10, 11.1, 12.1 through 12.4, and 13.1 through 13.4. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion passes by unanimously. Thank you. All right, so we will now move to our items for a separate vote. Secretary Foster, do we have a motion to approve item 14.1?
I move to approve item 14.1, consideration and approval of the superintendent's evaluation and contract amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask for discussion. And Superintendent Segura, is there anything you'd like to say before?
So first thing I'd say is the uploaded document is different than the one that was uploaded at the information session a week ago. The kind of language around accountability, adjustments tied to like a bonus structure has been removed. And in full transparency, it was not arrived at by Matthias in isolation. It was a conversation with the board. And so I certainly want to acknowledge kind of the, the challenges with kind of creating stability in a system such as Austin ISD, and at the same time wanting to do, continue the great work that we've been doing. And so I'm hopeful that the removal of the language kind of makes it clear that this is truly just an extension of time. And for me, when we think about stability and we look back over what the last couple years have been, it hasn't felt like stability because it's been one big thing after another. But we've been coming out of a period of severe disruption where we had multiple leaders over a very short period of time. We've done lots of great work together. We were faced with the TA agreed order immediately. We, had the tax rate election. We launched the 2022 bond program. We have navigated a lot, and getting through this budgeting process, as difficult as it is, I think requires stability as we implement and move forward. So, it's a difficult role, but I love this organization and I love the work. So I'm excited to get the opportunity to continue to do it. So,
thank you. Trustees, any discussion? We'll start with Trustee Whitley Chu and then Trustee Hunter.
Yeah, so I just want to say to the community that the superintendent and the board, heard you. Oh, sorry, it's on. Yeah, I want to say to the community that thank you for all your comments and for looking through all this information. And yeah, I think it is important to show a shared sacrifice. There are so many people in this district that deserve bonuses. So many people working with our teachers that deserve more than we're getting, and it hurts not to be able to have the staff that we deserve. And so that, even though this is a small gesture, I hope it is seen by everyone, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Hunter?
Excuse me. I just want to take a moment of, I don't even know what it was, not like appreciation, but just thoughtfulness around this work. I've met other trustees who are like, oh, I've been a trustee since 1987. Really? That's amazing. But the work that the team of 10 does, I understand when people say, oh, this is my family, because literally, you spend hours with these people till the wee hours of the morning. You also have one employee in common, and you work together to try to get that to go. And so for me, the very first thing we did, well, for all of us that were here originally, very first thing we did was the hardest thing you have to do, I hear, which is not true now, having done it for 3 years. But like one of the toughest things they say is hiring a superintendent. Nobody gets it all right, but if you get most of it right and your heart is in the right place, I have to support that. I worked at 3 turnaround schools and nobody ever acknowledged that I got the same base pay that I got. So I understand why that is what sometimes, like Catherine just put in very perfect terms. I'm not even gonna go back there because she did a great job. But I do wanna say that as we do this work, you don't understand destabilization until you switch superintendents. Because I have been in this district under a guy that said, we're not paying anybody hazard pay. You go to the school, you do the school, you work the hours, you get what you get. I've worked under superintendents that would be like, great, let's spend all the money in the world. Kind of how we got here. But every time a new superintendent came in, it was very destabilizing. And though the word stabilization, people are like, are you watching the same show I'm watching right now, lady? It is better. And I just have to say that it's not an appreciation, but it's a thoughtfulness about, it's not what it should be, but it's getting closer to what it could be. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'll just say, I just want to share gratitude for getting to do this work with you, Superintendent Segura, and with everyone on this dais, and with everyone in our community. Our staff, our families, everyone out there cares immensely about our students, believes that every student in Austin deserves something great. This is a community that showed up. They've been showing up for months and months, telling us how much they care about public education, telling us how much they believe in our schools. We are seeing love even when we're seeing fear and sadness and anger and loss. And I think it's really important to remember that there's a huge belief in what our students are capable of. And, the educators we've heard from are talking about the impact in their lives because they know what it means for their students. And I really appreciate that. So just appreciate the focus on that together as we work to get as much of it right as we can. So thank you for that. Anything additional? All right. Having a motion by Secretary Foster, a second by Trustee Hunter to approve item 14.1. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Secretary Foster, do I have a motion to approve item 14.2?
I move to approve item 14.2, 2026-27, proposed general fund, food service, and debt service budgets.
Is there a second? Okay. And Trustee Singh, I think we will start our discussion with you because I know you had some questions that you didn't have a chance to ask.
And Trustee Boswell, I move to amend this motion by eliminating the deputy superintendent expense and related expenses and to that office, and by eliminating the ombuds office expense and allocating at least one full-time librarian position to each campus.
Okay, do we have a second for this? Do you want to restate that? And I'm going to write it down.
I move that this motion be amended by eliminating the deputy superintendent position and related support and office staff expense, eliminating the ombudsman's office expenses, and allocating at least one full-time librarian position to each campus.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Hunter, okay, do we have any discussion?
I have a question. How does the math work out for that?
So Katrina, I think you have the number for the librarian, or maybe Woodrow can pull it up, for the restoration of the half to a full, correct? That's what the increase would be.
Correct.
The ombuds office, 2 of the allocations were already reduced. Yeah, so there's, if I have the base number of the librarians, I can figure out the difference. I know them. We'll pull it up real quick. I have to go back a couple files. Woodrow, do you want to come up? You're probably going to be used here for a little bit.
Yeah, do we need to take a brief recess while you work on that?
And this is something we discussed in last meeting.
We have you have
yeah,
the number, the slide. I don't have the
we have
deputy soup position with added staff to it.
Am I correct? That's, and I know you're looking at that information, so I have it as $500,000 for the deputy superintendent's office.
$500,000 for the deputy superintendent's office?
Deputy
Deputy
soup.
Deputy soup, yes. Can you read that?
It leaves us 300 short.
What's that word?
Life.
No. But it's not.
Nor is it dead.
Correct.
Do we want to take a brief recess, or do you think we're? What's that?
I think y'all should take a recess.
Superintendent Segura, we have the average salary, but now we have to figure out how many librarians are needed.
We'll take a brief 5-minute recess at 9:35.
Are there any other ones we should look up while we're?
I mean, there could be.
I mean, any other motions? I kind of, President Boswell, I was wondering, could we, I appreciate that you raised this, Trustee Whitley-Chu. I have some questions, like,
Well, let's
I
ask
kind
the
of
other
want to hear
questions.
questions, because that might affect how I would vote on that. You know
Let's
what I'm
ask
saying?
questions while we navigate whether it's practical.
Keep it pushing.
Yeah, we can work on the questions.
Well, I don't know if, I mean, they might be occupied.
Do you need? Who would answer our questions? I guess it depends on what the questions are.
So there's 3 things that are being.
Yeah.
Take 5 minutes.
Okay, we're going to take 5 minutes.
Okay, let's take 5
It's now 9:36, and we're taking 5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. We will now reconvene the open meeting at 9:46 p.m. We have a motion by Trustee Whitley-Chu and a second by Trustee Singh to amend the budget to eliminate the deputy superintendent position and the associated expenses, to eliminate the ombudsman office, and to reallocate those funds to ensure one full-time librarian position at each campus. And there was a question about whether the dollar amounts worked out, and then I think some further questions. So Trustee Singh.
Trustee Boswell.
Trustee Hunter had seconded it.
Oh, Trustee Hunter seconded. Sorry. Thank you for clarifying, fixing that in my notes. And you are correct. Thank you, Trustee Singh. And Trustee Singh had a question, the first question about yes.
Oh, yeah, it was if the math worked out.
Yeah, so was able to get with the team and just give the numbers. So a couple things just to add extreme clarity. The deputy superintendent position includes 3 staff. It also includes other direct costs that are distributed to all the campuses. So if you look at the total budget is $651,000, but the individuals or the positions themselves are $500,954. And so I'm hesitant I would use that number, not the 651, because the 151 is really allocated to campuses. Like that's how it's used. The Ombuds office, the total allocation in the budget is $346,000. I do want to make it clear, however, that that has already been considered in the $17 million. So one of the things we talked about last 2 weeks, that the central office staff, the $17 million force reduction wasn't reflected, and those conversations are ongoing. But that component is already considered in the budget. So it's $595,000, 11.5 allocations for librarians at an average total compensation for that period is $977,500. So 11.5. So to make the halves whole is going to cost $977,500. The deputy sup position with support staff is $500,954. So there's a difference of $477,000 in change.
We'd be short.
We would be short, that
Okay.
way, but I mean, yeah.
And this is for 1 year?
Yeah, it's decided the fiscal year. Yeah, but it's a fixed cost. So assuming next year we'd have to, it could continue or it could get modified. I don't know. It's this fiscal year.
Okay, so next year, then we would have the same, we'd be short still, but we'd have that 900 whatever.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend not finding the difference.
So this is what I am saying. So this is for 1 year. We could be back here again in a year.
Well, I wouldn't do the 11.5 until you found the difference of 400,000.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. I hear you. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Foster, I think you had a question. Did you know? Okay. Misread your signs. Trustee Singh, do you have additional questions? Anything down here?
I appreciate the motion and the creative looking for solutions. I would prefer more discussion on the bigger picture before I'm prepared to vote for changes. I would like to know other ideas and potential edits that other people are going to propose or amendments. So just so I will not be able to vote, although I might be able to vote for this in a few minutes, I'm not ready to vote for it now. So I would be voting against this at this time. I would prefer to have these motions come after discussion instead of before.
Okay. Any further discussion before we take a vote?
Yeah.
Would we like to table it?
Time.
We have a live motion. Okay.
Vote on it.
So we'll vote on it and we can bring it back later if that makes sense. Okay, perfect. Okay, so having a motion by Trustee Whitley-Chu, a second by Trustee Hunter, to amend the budget to eliminate the deputy superintendent position and associated expenses, to eliminate the ombuds office, and to reallocate that funding to ensure 1 full-time librarian position at each campus. All in favor, raise your right hand. And all opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so we have 2 in favor, we have 5 opposed, and we have 2 abstentions. So the motion fails. Okay, any further conversation?
Yeah, so shall I just go back to my original list of random questions on the budget? Okay. I was hoping that, Superintendent, could you please go into a little bit more detail about transportation? I know that you were going to ask about that too.
No, go ahead.
But that was,
knock them off.
Particularly, like, you don't have to go through every line by line, but what are the things that are most going to impact families, just so that they clearly understand and know what to expect?
Yep.
I know something was happening June 25th as well. a letter was going to go out to families. So just a little bit more detail around
Give me
all
1
that.
second. I'm pulling it up right now. I know most of them by heart, but wanted to make sure I didn't miss any. And I scrolled too fast.
And while you're doing that, I just wanted to point out something that I heard. I did hear a lot of community members ask about, which was, what happened to the savings from the school closures and whatever happened to that and how does that help us? Well, there is one table on here that shows pretty directly that what we saved from the school closures pretty much funded the TAP investments, correct?
That's correct.
So it was almost a one-to-one. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up, and I really appreciate that you all really laid it out, was the cuts at the department, which I guess is central, versus the cuts on campus. And what I saw was, I think about 22% of the cuts are here, in the central, like what you're calling department, that is central office, right? Okay. And then 78% are on campus. But I think that kind of aligns with the percentage of overall staff we have. Like, is that proportional? Is that proportional to how our
Probably
general
weighted
staff are?
to central. Like it's heavier at central, like the cuts, but per FTE.
Okay. So proportionally, there's actually more cuts.
Staff. When you say cuts, you're talking about staff.
Of staff.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, FTEs. Okay. So I really appreciated being able to actually see that, that breakdown.
I got transportation up. You want me to read them?
Yes, please do.
All right, so transportation, again.
And what are you looking at so we can pull it up
I'm
too?
looking at attachment 5, page, unfortunately, there's not page numbers on it. That's operations, transportation. Maybe there is a page number, it's not scrolled over. Oh, no.
And so this is for item, what item are we on? 14.2.
Yep.
Attachment 5.
Attachment 5. So it's page 4 of 12 on the PDF, and about two-thirds of the way down the table, it begins transportation. So transportation athletics, so the first one is swim routes for high schools. So several high schools have swim teams. Swim is continuing on, but we as a district have been providing bus drivers and buses to take the students during the school day to the pools for practice. And so similar to what this is going to propose, eliminating those and then having an alternative solution to transport the students, or having it occur at the end of the day. It'll ultimately, I think, include coaches driving, opposed to having the bus driver, which is the primary driver of the cost. And then one of the things that athletics, Coach Glenn and Chris Halvazizadeh from transportation have been talking about is actually placing athletic buses at the campuses so that they just have, they can access them whenever they need to. They don't have to worry about going to a bus barn. And many of our coaches have CDLBs. So that's one of them. And I'm focusing on the ones that impact students. The next one I would say is transportation, 0.4 miles, and then for 14 elementary schools, and then 1 mile for 10 elementary schools. So several years ago, there was an expansion of our transportation practice, which included picking up students within the 2-mile radius for those schools that had unique programming or needed some additional support for enrollment. What this is here is just reverting back to our policy. Anything within 2 miles around the entire district we do not pick up except for these campuses, so we're reverting back. This is also, I think, where the callers who called in were talking about Riley or Montessori. Just to be crystal clear, our commitment to the turnaround plan included transportation for Montessori. So that part is continuing.
Citywide?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And it's because it's tied to an agreement that we made as we went through the consolidation. The reason it's on here is because Riley previously had, or Montessori previously had a 0.4 also tied to that, and a 1. So I think of it as a halo, right? So you have the transportation within the 2 mile and then outside the 2 mile.
Okay.
And then that's also differentiated based on the school type. So what we're saying is, at the new location, within 2 miles, there will not be transportation.
Okay,
which is
but
consistent
everyone
with-
else will.
Correct.
Oh, that's good.
That's the confusion.
I hope some communication
it's-
goes out on that.
Yeah, we have FAQs ready to go out, we have all the stuff, but the 17,643 is tied to that sliver within the overall route.
That makes sense.
So the next one, non-zone campuses, this is one, Gus Garcia and Bertha Sadler Means, similar to what I just talked about, where transportation was being used to pick up students within the 2 mile radius. We are not going to be able to continue to do that at Gus Garcia and Bertha Sadler Means. Outside the 2 miles, yes. That makes, so that's, again, just consistent with the policies tied to all of our schools, just applying them to the unique program schools. So at one point, it was on the list for consideration for total elimination or removal. Through conversations with Roby, Principal Mejia, community, feedback we've gotten, we felt like this was a good balance. We'll have to look at it again. They also have been working with Stacia at LASA because they are all kind of geographically in the same area. So the routes that can take, young women that are going to go to Bertha Sadler Means, but then perhaps put them on a bus that's also going to go through LASA. Like, there's just ways that we can do it because they're all in the same location, and they've been working together to and actually met with them, and they provided me some ideas. Those are incorporated here. Magnet hub cost. So this is, we're going to continue on with the magnet hub model. We are going to be exploring and implementing a sliding scale offset, similar to what we do for free and reduced lunch, or what could be done, kind of mirroring that. We don't have that built out yet. It's not a large number that we're looking to offset. It's really going to be starting it, and those students who have the highest need will still be able to travel on the bus without a cost.
Okay.
The district-wide for a handful of schools, this is what we were talking about. Well, there are other district-wide transportation programs that we have that are kind of being modified in that way, where it's the 0.4 or the 1 that are being modified. Late activity buses for middle school and high schools. This is one of those ones that is difficult when you look at the numbers. We did pull information from the spring semester. We actually went back to the fall semester. We have buses that leave these schools with 2 kids on them sometimes. During certain sports and certain events, they'll be half full. It is one of those it's hard, and it's not at all campuses. It's not at all campuses. Some campuses have them, some campuses don't. So this is eliminating that.
So are we completely eliminating late activity buses for all of our middle and high schools, or just are we modifying it?
Well, so this is an elimination. We are eliminating. One of the things that we're trying to work through now is if there's funds available at the school. There are lots of activity funds. There are lots of funds that are tied to the program. Just right now, I have the numbers. They're very empty, and we have sometimes bus drivers sitting for a very long period of time, and that's just the challenge. Is they're not full, and they're going across the entire city in some cases. And so when we look at, the fact that we spend $7.14 per mile and we get $1, we had to find cuts somewhere.
So wait, I just want to make sure I understand. So the dollar amount for that is $54,933. Is that how much it cost? That's why I'm a little confused.
So there's two. So one of the things that's difficult about this is there's the fixed cost and there's the payroll cost. So what's further up is the bus driver. So this is not the bus driver. That's just the fixed cost. That's the fixed fuel costs associated with that. If you go up, further up in the row, you're going to see bus drivers as a elimination because we don't need the route supported.
Okay.
And so we can absorb the allocation within the vacancy. So there's 23 at 1.16 million, 17.25 bus monitors at 794,000.
Okay.
So when you have a bus, it's the fuel, it's
all that stuff.
and then there's the person. They're not this.
Okay, so the total cost might be a couple $100,000.
It's hundreds of thousands. Yeah, it's hundreds of thousands.
Okay,
but it's not millions, and it's not 60,000. But that's what makes budgeting for bus routes very difficult because it's based on cost per mile, but the cost per mile includes the bus driver, in some cases the bus monitor, the fuel, and anything else.
Okay, and the rest of them are pretty, they're more self-explanatory, but you can kind of zip through, you can just.
Oh, I'm
kind of-
sorry.
if
Well, you
want-
asked for details, so I was
No,
like.
no, but the other, I mean, the other one, because I wasn't sure, but the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
ones do seem more self-explanatory, like the,
Yeah,
you know.
I'm happy to answer any other ones. The Go Project, Special Olympics, those are just a function of the programming shifting. We're still doing them. We're just, kind of focusing the work. Like Special Olympics is over a 2-week period that's been tightened up, and just the function of having fewer days is going to have fewer costs associated with it. ALC bus routes, we've talked about that one for quite some time. That's a larger line item. Again, it's split up between the fixed cost of fuel and the personnel. On a cost per mile, it's roughly $500,000. But that is, that's something that we do that's very unique. Most school districts don't do it. We are looking at incorporating as part of our transition plan from the schools to ALC, and asking more questions around transportation, if any support's needed, assisting with bus routes. The ALC now is currently at the old Mary Jane Sims location, and that's on a bus route. It's
The
on
300, yeah.
Yeah, it's on a main bus route for Capital Metro. So we've been working with Jay, the principal over there. This one we think we can do I think quite well, and we're the only district that I'm aware of this large that actually has transportation for ALC. Happy to answer any other ones, but those kind of cover the bigger ones.
No, that's really helpful. And then June 20, I saw somewhere in the presentation, I think, that I guess that's next week, you guys are going to send letters to families about where their hub would be for the middle and high school?
Yeah, so we want to provide an update as far as what to expect in their area. Some of the hubs may require kind of reaching out and kind of getting some things in place. Typically, we wouldn't do that till early August, but we felt before July 4th break, we want to reinforce the fact that there will be buses kind of in their community. It may not be at every corner, but it should be very accessible and not within a very long walking distance, and it will not only be at an elementary school or anything like that.
Okay, I think that's the main
really
thing that I'm
we're
like
trying to focus
latching on to is like knowing what those perimeters are. I know it's not going to be identical across the district, but just it sounds from what you're saying, it sounds like every child will still be within walking distance to a hub.
Well, so walking distance is
or within 2 miles or a hub.
It'll be, yeah, and this is where I get really cautious about using walking distance, because right now we don't provide transportation for within 2 miles. I think a lot of people would argue whether 2 miles is walkable for, a 9-year-old. But that's our current policy. So by definition, if you're at 1.75 miles, you're either going to walk half a mile or a quarter mile to get to the other side of the zone, or you're going to walk 1.7 miles to the school, or you're going to get dropped off.
Yeah.
We will not be kind of at that range, but it's not going to be every block. So an example that I was talking to someone earlier today about is if you go into a neighborhood, many neighborhoods in Austin, not all of them, many of them, there's like a community pool, or there's like a kind of centralized location that's the community center for that neighborhood. That would be a viable hub, right? There's parking, families can go there. It's in many cases probably walking distance, but not in all cases, but it's within the neighborhood. Now, what we do now is we pick up
At
like every other block.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be those types of solutions.
Yeah.
If that's like a really good way to kind of conceptualize the way it's going to look.
Okay.
It may still be at a couple elementary schools for sure. That's to be determined. They're running through the models now. But once we'll have an update next week, and that's what I intend to share out.
Okay, so it'll just be an update, but it won't be like a final.
We would never give a final any year prior to August. We're going to get way ahead of it now because of the changes.
Okay.
But I don't know that I'll be able to precisely say within 4 days of the vote kind of exactly where everyone's going to be.
No, that's fine. And
get
that actually gives me comfort, because I was like, oh my gosh, are they going to work all this out in the next week? Okay, that's how, I think, out of everything that we're seeing, like, this is one that really gives me pause, because it just has such a direct impact on enrollment and attendance. And that's bad for outcomes, that's bad for budget, like, it's a double whammy, and so, as we think about potential amendments in August. I don't want to do a lot of like changes on the dais or anything, but as you know, as we think about amendments going forward, just for me, that is one area where I'm really going to be paying close attention to see like what plan you all come up with, and then if it seems that that is going to hurt our ADA right away and all of that, I'm going to really have some heartburn over that. The last question, I mean, I've got 11 questions, but I'm only going to ask one more, and this is kind of a more big picture one. We haven't really talked about student outcomes at all, really, today, but I feel like I want to just have a little bit of conversation with you, Superintendent, on just talk to us about how thoughtful you and your staff were and how you used our data, our student outcome data, when making some of these decisions, and what gives you heartburn. And what are you going to be, like, you know, there might be one or two things where you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm really going to have to keep a close eye on this thing to make sure that it doesn't hurt our kids too much. I just would love for you to share some of that.
That's a very good question. So when we first started this process, one of the things that I shared with our trustees was a graphic, and it showed the fact that we were backwards designing the budgeting document and looking at expenses first. And what we knew was that anything that we did, we needed to understand how it was going to impact our schools that had historically been underserved. And when you look around in Austin ISD, one of the things that we've been trying to do for quite some time is to create a tool that would allow us to guide our work when that occurred. We used it for work just over the last 2 years. And so when we made reductions, we looked at, should we stop something? Should we rescale something? And if we're going to rescale it, what is that rescale going to look like? How are we going to apply it across all of our schools? How might it look different if it's a TAP school that has a series of unacceptable accountability ratings? Or how might it look at a school that just went through a consolidation? Or how might it look at a school that just broke an accountability chain, right? There's lots of things to consider. And so we used the SRI band, the Support Resource Index band, which we've talked about a couple different times here. And that kind of guided the first iteration of the work. And then after that, we worked with principals as we kind of began to roll out what these things could be. And we got feedback around, hey, Matthias, you know, I understand why we're looking at this consideration, but I need some autonomy and flexibility in order to make it work for my campus. And so there were structures that we put in place that allowed us to maintain the overall reduction in cost, but allowed flexibility for our campuses because our principals know, you know, kind of best how those allocations should really be distributed on their campus within certain parameters. Like, and we heard me talk about this before, sometimes there's a trade that's going to occur where a principal wants to take an assistant principal and then take that position and turn it into a content interventionist and then use the difference to part-time pay for a front office clerk or something like that. Okay. What we didn't want to do is to go up and say, okay, we're going to collapse a content interventionist plus a clerk and then create an assistant principal. And so we were meticulous. We had lots of meetings, you know, and really, you know, tracking the work that we've seen. You know, one of the reasons that we wanted to stay away from essential areas and why we tried so hard is because of the planning time and how that's really demonstrated, you know, to us that the system is responding with the work that we've been able to accomplish. With MTSS, I mean, we've been doing, you talk about the work around SPED, accountability, all that requires time in the day. And so we really tried to protect that time where we could. So you saw us kind of introduce it in a way that, you know, stayed away to the best of our abilities from the schools that, you know, had historically been underserved. So there'd been a lot of those types of conversations. What gives me heartburn? There's a lot. There's no doubt. I think one of the things that I'm really staying close to is seeing how these master schedules get developed and finalized over the next several weeks as we move towards the start of the school year. When we talk about 6.5 out of 8, or we talk about some of the impacts to fine arts, you know, Matthias isn't saying don't have choir or don't have orchestra, right? It's really us releasing allocations to the campuses looking at the needs of the students, looking at the programming they have, and then making adjustments to build up a staffing model that supports their programs. But I want to make sure that as they come back to us, that we're checking to make sure that we're not introducing a harm that was unintended as those master schedules go final. And that's what's made this really hard on our principals. I mean, our principals have been tremendous, doing incredible work, but like anything else, when you make these changes, even the changes we had introduced over the last week, you know, it's impacting their work. And so the reason I worry about that a lot is because it's going to have an impact on staff, it's going to have an impact on the school itself. And so that's what I'm really worried about.
That.
I would say that's like
that's been
one.
really thoughtful. And one of the things I do also really appreciate, I just reminded, I feel like you guys have done what you could do to preserve our values as much as possible with a lot of this. And one thing really stands out to me. There's been a lot in the news lately about Burnett, Dobie, and Webb. I want to give them a huge shout out right now because none of the newspapers are reporting on this. Burnett had 17 kids take Algebra 1, and 100% of those passed.
Yeah.
Okay? Most of these middle schools that are like many middle schools that are taken over by the state, they don't even offer Algebra 1, and that is a way to artificially inflate test scores. But I really appreciate that we are still offering that. It costs money to do that, but we are not going to limit high achievement for our students dependent on their zip code. So thank you for that. That is something we're making a choice to do as a district. So Burnett had 17 students taking Algebra 1. Those kids are going to go to college because they are on the path already in middle school, and we're putting them on that path. Same thing for Dobie, had 14 kids. 100% of those kids passed the Algebra 1 star. These are middle schoolers. Webb had 34 kids taking Algebra 1, and 82% of them passed. So shout out to those schools. And those are, I mean, every single one of our middle schools offers Algebra 1 as far as I can see. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and Houston ISD cannot say that. Many districts cannot say that. But I'm really proud that we can say that, and those are our values. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have additional discussion? Trustee Hunter.
I'm going to follow the transportation track, but then I have a couple other things, and then I'll be done because I have all my questions marked off. You guys did a good job. The first thing is I need some clarity on ALC. So first of all, let me say, I love Cap Metro. They do great things. They also are not awesome sometimes. They cancel buses. But, I mean, if you think about our city, it needs more. But you can get on the 337 and go to Northland and Mopac, stay on the same bus, and go to the Expo Center. The schools you're going to pass doing that, Gus Garcia, Sadler Means, Lamar, McCallum, I mean, it's pretty good, right, if you get on the bus. My concern is, have we thought about what happens when Cap Metro does what sometimes they do best? My daughter texted me, she's like, oh, the bus canceled. I was like, okay, just get the next one. They canceled that one too, take an Uber, right? Not everybody can say take a Lyft or an Uber, so we're gonna have to allow for that. These kids have already been penalized. We need to, somebody needs to be tracking that system because kids can't just be like, oh yeah, the bus didn't come, so I'm not coming. But I'm just saying that's more work now for somebody else to verify and make sure that happens and to provide. A parent calling and saying, he's not there, I put him on, he's supposed, all those kinds of things, right? Because even now, when I was dropping my daughter off at school, I think parents are like, okay, they're in, and then they would drive off. You no longer have that with students who are already in need of some more of everything, right? So there's that. When we talk about hubs, I just love Austin, right? P. Terry's is closing because they're like, we need this road. Bye. So that happens all the time in the city. What is our coordination with the city? Because they forever digging a hole somewhere. And that hole where 35 is coming through, we need to see, like, have we looked and seen how far that goes out, what that's gonna adjust? We're also saying, I love middle schoolers. I don't think there are better people than 8th graders. But I also know that at some of our middle schools, they have been banned from HEB. They have been banned from Amy's Ice Cream. And they be like, don't even look at our parking lot. So have we had those conversations and expectations, right? Even when they're waiting on, what is that, Ridgemont, that corner, the lady's like, get out of my yard, right? So as we are just, these are young people, have we considered these things is what I'm asking, like when we do this thing, we just opening up a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah, Trustee Hunter, that's a good, so 8th graders are congregating throughout the city already, all the time.
I know. That's why we used to have a curfew in Austin. Who remembers that curfew?
And there are pickups that are block by block where there's 20 kids. So it's happening out through the city already. I do think there's a unique opportunity with the number of libraries, City of Austin libraries, the neighborhood community centers. We looked, ACC properties. There's going to be, I think, a lot of places where if a family is able to drive, they can stay with their student before they get on the bus. Hopefully it's within walking distance. And we're going to make adjustments. It's not going to be perfect right out of the gate. But yes, I think we're going to have to really think through if there's anything that we need to consider just to ensure that we're launching in a safe way. But there will be some adjustments. And again, there's some lessons learned already from what we've done with magnet schools because we went to the hub model last year. But yeah, they are congregating. I see them going up and down. Like Lively is just like dominating South Congress. I mean, so yes, I agree with you, Trustee Hunter, and that's something that we're gonna have to consider.
Okay. And then last sort of transpo type kind of thing, you mentioned that you said, hey, we're going to work with Capital Metro. I would, not just with people who are like, hey, I lost my bus, I need to work with Capital Metro. If you're a city kid, you need to be able to ride a city bus. And for parents that want that and are interested in that, I would love for us to make a gateway for them to be like, this is how you do it. And elementary schools are already doing it. They're like, we can't afford a bus. We all getting on Cap Metro. Let's go to the Blanton. Yep. So if we can open that up when you do that, I mean, I get the babies taken care of first. But at some point, if we have that opportunity to say, if you're interested, Capital Metro has a travel training. They don't, I mean, maybe they do. They have the bus thing where they teach you how to put the bike on the bus. But that kind of thing, I think that's a great communication. And it's free.
It is free with an AISD badge.
It was free. And my kid's riding it this summer because technically she's still an AISD student. Technically. Okay, to the pack. Gotta ride the bus to the pack.
That's a great comment. That is an area of improvement for us. I talk to Dottie all the time. I know Chris has today. They have a 30-year relationship. They've gone back for years and decades. We want the younger generation to take advantage of public transportation. My kid abused it, which is fantastic, but also not great when I found out she was, 20 miles away at a rolling rink or a skating rink up in Burnett. But she took the bus and she used her badge. But also what we have sometimes is in full transparency. Sometimes we have students riding the bus during the day when they shouldn't be riding the bus. They should be at school. So there's just some things out there. I've had actually people say, Matthias, can you tell Cap Metro to not let the kids on the bus during the school day? So there's certainly an opportunity there. We want the generation that's behind us to definitely embrace public transportation. So yes, that is 1,000% something we're doing.
Perfect, thank you. What gives me heartburn are assumptions, and you already know that, so I'm not even gonna go there. But I think one of the things that we should definitely, I already know you're gonna be making adjustments for that. Looking at that number of students, that final number, I was glad to see those numbers for the schools and everything. I wanna clarify, because you did say, I wanna make sure that I understand that because you said they stay with the TAP schools, but Riley and Andrew, there was a split there. But the kids at Riley can still, the Wynn Montessori.
The Montessori program.
That's still going to happen. Okay, correct. Perfect. There was some concern about that, so that's good.
And we have FAQs ready to go. Jamie assured me of that 30 minutes ago.
Excellent. Last thing, I feel like I have to say it one more time. Any sort of transaction when it comes to property, unless it's a ground lease or whatever, it's one and done, correct? This is for now, and like you'll be back. It's like
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, it is generally one and done, because even if it's a capitalized ground lease, like at least for 40 years or 50
Yeah.
years, we're going to endeavor to take upfront payment and in kind of a net present value kind of sort of way, so that we can get as much cash up front. But there are ways when we become more stable to just kind of create a long-term revenue stream, which is kind of more similar to what is occurring at like Anita Coy. But yes, generally speaking, mostly one and done, which is why we prefer leasing versus selling.
the fee simple transaction?
Fee simple.
Okay, excellent. And then the final thing is this building. I know that we are continuing to look at this building, and I just keep hearing people's like, well, they'll do it. This is not over. Like, this is the budget cycle, literally, and then we start up again. Like, we got to start up again. And so it's not over. And there are things we can be doing. We got Edna and the legislative people and all of those things that people are asking about. So I appreciate that. Thank you. That was all my other questions have been answered. Thank you.
Yeah, and Trustee Hunter, I mean, this building is something that we're absolutely exploring as far as opportunities that exist for transition, lease. There are lots of things. I mean, not a whole bunch I can say unless we're back there. But yes, we are looking at everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Okay. Anyone else? Or is it Trustee Kaufman's turn? I think it's your turn. Oh, Trustee Quintana.
I guess I want to talk a little bit more about the academic vision planning. And, I know that we've had several conversations during budget workshops and during, on this dais too, about, using this budget crisis as an opportunity to talk about our baseline academics. And when you talk about engineering the budget from backwards, or what you just said, I guess I hear the thoughtfulness around wanting to retain key staff in low socioeconomic schools or TAP schools, and I appreciate that. But I guess I'm just wondering if there was any more consideration or thought process around how exactly this budget would help to educate our students in a more equitable way.
So the way that I would say it precisely is that do you want examples within the budget? Because unfortunately, with the budget that's being cut, it's not about what you're adding; it's about what you're protecting. That's the way that if we had a surplus budget, then I would be making investments and I would be prioritizing those investments at the schools that had the highest needs, schools that have been historically underserved. And so in reverse, when you're cutting, we kind of do the opposite. We try to protect the schools that have been historically underserved. And I think you would find that in our approach to how we considered essential areas, starting with Band 4 and then Band 3, really trying to protect Band 1 and Band 2, which are more vulnerable campuses or historically been underserved, as well as our TAP campuses. When it comes to 6.5 out of 8, we talked about the distribution of those allocations and protecting 6 of 8 at like Eastside Early College High School, where there had been a turnaround plan in place, as well as schools that had not gotten to the point where they were meeting accountability and just not been resourced in the way that they should have been for quite some time. So it's kind of in reverse is the way that I would say it. When we talk about librarians, for instance, or other allocations, yes, generally speaking, it was based on enrollment, but we held harmless the turnaround schools. So just that methodology was applied throughout.
Right.
So,
and that's why I mentioned being very grateful around the thoughtfulness around protecting staff in those schools, in our Band 1 and 2 schools, at our TAP schools. But I guess if I was asking more specifically about academics and how exactly this budget, how exactly it correlates with how we are approaching our academic vision here in the district and how we expect this budget to help our kids in underserved schools reach higher and close those gaps that I know that are closing, and I want to acknowledge that. But it's just, we've had this conversation about baseline academics, and I know that we all agree that it's an important thing that we should be doing, and but I'm not sure that I've ever gotten like a clear answer on that, and so that's really my only question.
Yeah, the baseline academic program is tied to the academic vision. I know we had a part of a work session about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, and I know that Dr. Maxwell has been leading that work. Certainly the budget process has consumed a lot of energy in our system for sure. But when we talk about baseline academic program, we organize it in a way that were things that were required by the state. In elementary, there's not a lot of definition around it in some cases, things that are defined by board policy, and then things that we do and have given autonomy to our schools to implement. So that was how it was structured. And there's actually a document that was provided to the trustees that showed it all the way through. And there's a lot, especially when it gets to coursework for high schools. We offer lots and lots of courses in high schools that are well beyond what's required by the state and what's required really by board policy. And we allow our schools to have the autonomy to implement different types of courses, including like advanced mathematics, right, in multiple areas. I think the challenge that we have is kind of getting the program evaluation completed, because I think that's what we're talking about here, is getting to an understanding of what every elementary school is going to have, what every middle school is going to have, what every high school is going to have, and then what are those things that we agree on can be in addition to, but not so expansive to where it creates like big differences from one vertical to the next.
Yeah.
I can't really tell you, if you're asking.
And I guess that's my question, right, is what does every elementary school have, middle school, high school, and how much does that cost?
Yeah, it costs more than we currently can afford, unfortunately, which is why we're having to go back and change our baseline academic program.
And I'm not a financial professional, so you'll excuse my ignorance, but to me, I would assume that if we said that every elementary school needs this to be successful, so that every fifth grader moving on to sixth grade is successful, and then in middle school, eighth, whatever, high school, we would say it needs, X, Y, and Z, and this is how much X, Y, and Z costs. Yeah. So we should be spending, everything we have on X, Y, and Z, and then anything that isn't in there, all of those extra classes that we give schools autonomy to offer, well, we can't afford that, right? Because it's not. Yeah. I guess I'm like making up my own definition and telling you, but I thought that was like what we had discussed as a team, and I'm not really seeing that here.
So a couple things. So that work is going to continue. It was never going to be completed within the timeline of the budget. That is an 18-month process, and we've had conversations. Dr. Maxwell's had conversations with trustees to kind of to talk about what that looks like. To do it well, it is a long process. The goal here, I think, was to define the allocations that drive the budget. The ones that we knew we wanted to protect to the best of our abilities based on what we had previously defined as Austin ISD's understanding of what a comprehensive, I'm going to say comprehensive, but it's not really the right word to use, so just a traditional elementary school would have. We have, for years, counselors are required by law. The ratio of those counselors you can adjust. Librarians, not required by law. We believe in them, though it's very difficult to continue to have them in the same way we had before, ratio-wise. Assistant principals, you know, the ratio of them. So it really comes down to allocations at elementary based on the requirements in the law, and then as you go to secondary and into high school, certainly, then it turns into courses. And we don't define the courses necessarily. We do for the foundational ones, but not the ones that really define like the uniqueness of a school, right? And so like why is you know, Crockett an AVID program, and then Anderson's an IB program, and then, you know, Austin High is leaning into academies, and Aikens is leaning into academies, been a different model. Like that is truly the tailoring that has been built out because the community has seen those programs as a value. It's been embraced by the school, and they're still meeting the guidelines and the legal requirements. But we determine the allocations. So we say, here, Trustee Quintana, principal of X school, here are your allocations, use them this way. I think the tension we're going to run into as we go through this process is how closely do you define what should and shouldn't occur at some of these high schools. I'm going to use high schools as an example. Because if you have more alignment, then there's going to be less differentiation if you go from a McCallum to a Northeast Raleigh College High School. If you allow for kind of the autonomy that's been built up over years, then you're going to get kind of very different programs. I think that work, it's not explicit in this because it's not there. But that's a lot of what's going to be done as part of the academic vision and framework. But yeah, no, I hear you. It doesn't fit kind of that well, but it is something that is progressing. And my hope is with the budget behind us, a lot of the heavy work that's been behind us, including the special education order, we'll be able to really spend the resources and energy to get that done.
And I don't want to take up any more time. I think I've made my point, but I'll just end with this, that maybe we cannot afford for schools to be unique. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Trustee Urioste?
So I have two lines of questioning. One, I just wanted to clarify per Trustee Singh's earlier questioning about the reductions at central office and the FTEs, and we talked about like the proportionality. And I wanted to clarify, when you spoke to the ratio or the way those cuts were being dispersed, was that counting the reduction in unfilled positions as well, or is that percentage true for people that are currently employed?
I guess one question, this is a question that people ask me all the time, and I'm hesitant to answer it because I want to understand the why. And the reason is because I get asked a lot about, Matthias, I want to see the humans that are not going to be at central office. And I have worked really hard, we have worked really hard to make sure that we consume vacancies, we make movements, we had whole slides of how we move people within the system to not have humans leave Austin ISD. And that's the same approach I use for central office. So I would hesitate, I mean, I could, if that's what you want to know, I can provide that, but for me, it's about allocations. Yes, people are leaving Austin ISD, they're losing their jobs, but it's not as simple as just, you know, people versus not people, because we work really, really hard to limit humans.
The why to my question is because if those are unfilled vacancies that we're eliminating, that's staff that we already operate without. And campus positions that we're eliminating are staff that we operate with currently. I mean, those are employees that are on those campuses that we're reducing.
So there was a slide I presented about 6 weeks ago that had the number of staff that were on the campuses that were tied to a reduction due to enrollment or to the ratios, because those kind of happened at the same time. So in some cases, it was hard to determine, was it a ratio adjustment or was it a reduction in enrollment? Both those things drove the number of allocations down. And then the next column was the number of vacancies on our campuses. And many of our schools had lots of vacancies, and especially at some of our high schools, we were able to absorb them quite easily. So they've been operating in many cases without them, and then we kind of use that methodology to build it out. So that is true both ways. We have had lots of schools that have operated with vacancies, and some departments as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's an excellent clarification. It still calls into, for me, it calls into question the nuts and bolts element of the response to Trustee Singh's question. Because if you have unfilled positions on both, my understanding of the question was, is the ratio consistent across, top to bottom? And I think what the public's asking is, again, rubber hits the road. Where are we losing actual staff? And my concern is that that's obfuscated in that the data that we're responding. I understand your intent, but the public is asking for downsizing of central office, and they're not seeing whether that's a consistent ratio from the campuses to central office. So
because it wasn't humans?
Yeah, I think they're worried about more humans leaving the campuses than central office proportionally.
We have a slide that shows only 56, I think, staff out of all the hundreds in our schools have transitioned, and most of that is because of retirements. Some have left, and I don't think I have the slide in front of me, but I don't have it in front of me, but there was a slide that we produced that showed that. And here's the other thing is we offer positions to staff, and sometimes they choose not to take it. And I think the complexity with campus-based staff is that there are certifications that limit placement, where at central office, a lot of them have been demoted. We have moved staff out. The constraints aren't there in the same way, which offers some flexibility with placement elsewhere in the system. So I understand what you're saying. If there is a strong desire to have humans at this point, I can provide, I guess, up to now. But again, there's still conversations happening. Like I had one yesterday. So I will do my best.
Yeah, and well, maybe I'll use my second question to kind of frame what I'm looking for in it. Is I'm concerned about the public's understanding of what's going on as we navigate these cuts. There's so many different elements about it. And so like that concern, when they're expressing it and they go cut more at central office, do this and that, don't do the campuses, and they don't see those actual numbers. And by the time, like if that's not explicitly shown to the public, like I get that you're saying there's still conversations going on and there's still those elements, but the fact that we're getting that feedback, that's our responsibility to communicate that. If they don't understand it, we're educators. We're supposed to educate them to understand what that is. And saying they didn't read the spreadsheet right kind of doesn't cut it, because they're just not going to understand. And so, like, to put it a different way, when we're talking about the duty days reductions at central office was another cost saving, right? That's what, around $3 million from duty day reductions?
Yeah, a little bit less, but yeah.
Okay, so when I'm looking at the documents, there's no guidelines or specifications on where those duty day reductions are actually occurring, is there? I didn't see it in the documents.
We have, I don't know if we put them in the documents since it's administrative. Yeah, we didn't put them in there.
Well, so, for the public, I get that we want to protect maybe confidentiality or specific, for staff contracting and stuff, but there was a lot of talk from the public is about people making certain amounts of money, whether they're having reductions. And so having that just be a blanket, we're cutting $3 million, but they don't know where that's coming from, and they don't see that whether it's from staff that are making, over $200,000, how much of the weight is carried by anybody. The consistent element that I'm hearing in that feedback is, are we all in this together? And if they don't see it, they're not going to believe it. Just us saying we are. It's not that I don't trust you, and I don't think it's even that the district or that the public doesn't trust. I think it's a function of them not seeing it. And so, my concern about that is, how do we communicate to them? Because we're going to have to go through all of next year, and at some point people are, just tune out, and they're not going to hear the response.
So you want a list of the positions, unless you want personnel, positions that have been impacted by the equivalent of the 5 duty day reduction, correct? Like that's what because that's what you want to buy positions, so you can see who's making, like what pay grades.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Like
okay.
Yeah, another example is, feedback has gone and they're saying, is this, the brunt of this being experienced by staff that's making less than $150,000. right? Because these are the questions that people are asking, and the way it's been presented, I can't answer that question to them. So it's just a lingering question. So maybe a different way to put it, because I understand, the timeliness of the conversation is, at the very minimum, like an after-action report or something showing how this is deliberately shaking out so that the public can understand.
Yeah.
Because these documents are, coming at us very late, understandably why. There's last-minute decisions being made, but those type of line items don't specify, and that's what people have been asking. They say, I want to see specifically where the brunt of this is being borne. They see it on their campuses. They know specifically which staff are leaving. They're emailing us saying the names of the staff, and that's not happening at central office. They're not saying, oh, specifically this director is leaving. They might be asking for cuts by position title, but there's a disparity there, and I think that's one of the problems in the community understanding that these cuts are happening at central office.
Yeah, so I won't belabor it. I'm happy to provide a after-action or post-mortem, whatever you would like to provide. We provided a list of everybody that makes $75,000 and above at one point not too long ago. I think there's an understanding that it seems like lots of people are making $200,000 and above, because I keep hearing that number, and I'm trying to understand where that's coming from, because I don't think it's as many as people think. And the other thing I would say is I can provide a list of the positions that where we're applying the 5-day duty day equivalent to. And then I can do that for sure. The other question that comes up all the time is stipends. And I've told trustees, I've told community, I've gone through and evaluated every stipend, every position. If a position requires a travel stipend, then right, wrong, or indifferent, I believe that that's a travel stipend. They've been adjusted because there were positions in this system, both on campus and off campus, that had travel stipends, but they're not traveling. And so the question becomes, is the stipend being used in a way to just modify compensation, or is it truly a stipend that was meant to offset a cost that the employee is having to pay? So we made all those adjustments, and then the question back comes around, well, I don't think that certain positions should have stipends at all. And then it's like, okay, well, if it's a travel stipend, it's either we are consistent with how we apply something or we're not. I don't want to just do something because it feels as though we should, because everybody's feeling pain. There are people in this building who have lost 5 duty days. They've lost a cell phone. They've been demoted, and they've lost travel stipend. I mean, that's a good amount of income, and not everybody here is making $200,000. So I'm really sensitive to that both ways, and I understand that teachers and staff at campuses. We have over 100 campuses. There's only one central office, so when I put a person's name, and it's a position, it's usually one of 2. It's just different. But we are taking cuts. There are lots of them. I try desperately to make sure we protect humans, but I'm happy to provide the list of people who are not going to be in Austin ISD.
So, again, to reiterate, I think I've said it before on the dais, I would like to protect as many jobs as we can, especially with everything else that's going on. Part of this is keeping people employed that are, doing the work that we need done. Again, my concern is to navigate the discussions that are going to be occurring pretty much, as soon as we come back. Yeah, as soon as we come back. If people don't understand what we just did, even after the fact, then they're not going to be able to engage in the discussion that's going to go on next year. And so I'm just concerned on some of those line items, because we're going to hear them coming back saying central office, central office, central office. And if they don't understand what's just happened, so that's my concern, is to engage in the conversation that is going to come. It would be helpful to understand what we just did. And, so I think an after action or a more, post-mortem or something would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Thank you. Trustee Gonzalez, anything?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge that it makes me feel uneasy to talk about line-by-line changes, especially when we're talking about the necessity to pass a budget tonight. That being said, I did want to return to what was proposed by Trustee Whitley Chu earlier. It's the administration's job to build out the budget, and it's our job to vote on it up or down. That being said, I wanted to ask, is there an amendment to the amendment that was offered earlier that would decrease that $400,000 gap that you identified between the suggestion that was made by Trustee Whitley Chu?
So, I mean, I could, I can do that. I would need more than 2 minutes, or maybe the 30 seconds you're looking for right now. So yeah, I mean, that's what, if that's the amendment, and I guess my question becomes, what other amendments are going to come? Because I'm not in a position to, go down a list of things that are all horrible and say, can go here, this can go here. That's just not going to work. So if that's what I need to look at, then I'm happy to take 10 minutes and try to find the difference. But I don't want to have the next thing be, well, Matthias, can you find $600,000 more and then $200,000 more?
That's why I said at the top, I'm nervous
I'm
about
happy to
opening that door. But at the same time, I see a value that Trustee Whitley Chu has identified that I agree with as worth protecting, and so I want to entertain the conversation around what that would cost would be in order to maintain that.
Can I share a thought? And this is really just more a process thing, because I appreciate you bringing that back up. I'm wondering if there's a way that we could, I know we're going to, in August, look at budget amendments. Is there a way to, for superintendent to somehow gather from trustees if there are things that, like specific proposals that you have that we can share with you via email or something, I don't know, like to consider, and then just ask you to consider those, or I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be okay. I think the only issue I have is that if it's a personnel-related amendment, I need that now, because I have to make the adjustments with 1 week to go in July, and then make sure that the allocations in the principals, everybody's communicated with, so that when we come back from break, we're ready to go. If I wait till July for anything that's personnel related on a campus, then we're gonna be at a disadvantage. And then also, right now, that they're currently on the list, it may make decision A, but if this came back around and the amendment actually occurred, then decision B is what they might make, which means they might stay versus they might go. Does that make sense? So if it's specifically for not a huge thing, but a group or something manageable, then I'm happy to take 10 minutes and try to figure this out, but I can't have it. But they would be helpful to get it done today. That's what I'm saying. Amendments that were not staff related, that is something I would be more than happy to review once we're in July. Is that? I really want staff to know, because at the end of the day, the fiscal year ends, and so the decisions are going to take place, and I can make, if it's non-staffing, that's different than if it's staffing.
Well, and I think it's also the question of the impact of the thing, the change. And it's just complicated. So, but I appreciate it. I just wanted to think of a way to maneuver this. That's helpful.
Thank you. Trustee Hunter?
To follow what Fernando said about the difference between in the vacancy being there, meaning that you're doing the work already without them, right? Versus we're doing the work with those people right now, right? So I'm gonna come back to that. We need to pass a budget. Our money woes are not going away. Catherine has made a very valid point. We already don't have this person. Would they make the work go easier? Would it keep the flow better? Yes, because everything is right now like 3 people, right? But that's the same thing on campuses. So wherever we can get, like, for that, how do I want to say that? What can I get for what we have? right, for the positions that she has suggested. Can I make an amendment? Pardon?
I can't stop you.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You can discuss it.
Yeah. Can I discuss the amendment?
You can make an amendment.
Okay, so thank you, David. That's why you're my favorite, you know that. Since we already know we don't have that position, this is a case of we can't save everybody. But how many librarians can we get for that position is what I'm asking. How many librarians can we get? Because, like, again, we already don't got that position. But the number, what was the number? I wrote it down. Was it 540?
500 for 3, but 2 of them are support positions that are currently employed.
Okay.
23 half-time librarians could go to full-time for the,
So would that be enough to staff all the schools above, say, 350 students?
Well, it would do all of them. It's going from the half to the full.
For all of them? From I thought we were short.
Not for 554?
You're reverting back, right? We went, every school has at least a half. No one has 0.
The validated budget savings were $896,000. So
We're 3 short.
So it's 800.
what do we have if we remove that department?
554, right? You said
Yeah.
554?
So we couldn't get them all back for that.
That's what I'm
price.
saying.
Right.
What can I get for
I think that's a
554?
great question.
I mean, I'd have to look at each
Okay, recess.
I move to recess, open meeting.
I'm happy recessing for a moment and doing that. I think the question, David, do you want to explore do you want to speak first before we do that?
No, I have no
We can
line
come
items
back.
to propose.
Okay. Okay, we will
Well,
recess.
actually, I do have a question.
Okay, yes.
That will give them a chance to start running. We've heard from librarians and community members and teachers, and you've heard from people on the dais about the importance of librarians and the positive impact they have both on the school climate, but also on literacy and on student achievement and all these things. Sticking to the focus on student outcomes, like what is our administration's take on the impact of librarians? Like, if we invest in this, are we getting what we are asking for, which is improved student outcomes and improved literacy in our schools?
Great question.
I mean, that's kind of, I don't want to say
Man,
it's
I'm
an
not trying to put
unfair
you on the spot,
question.
it's.
I mean, you've heard me talk about the value I believe in librarians. I've
Yeah.
gone to great lengths to try to do the best I can in protecting the position. So I feel a little out of, kind of, in a weird spot saying anything other than what I felt and what I feel, which is they're incredibly valuable. That's why I don't even know how to respond to that.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
They are 1,000% like critically important to our campuses. They contribute, they support, they are part of the vibrant ecosystem. The challenge we have is that when you have small schools, you get to a point where the number of students that you have don't support these staffing allocations, and counselors are required by law, principals you have to have, teachers you're going to have. There just aren't many things I can navigate. But yeah, no,
Okay, thank you.
And I would add a question, if I may, where I think the question to some degree too is, do you think we get bigger bang for full-time librarians rather than half-time, or an academic deputy superintendent who helps us live into the differential staffing we have at our campuses that isn't yet expanding the menu for our students, where we have more staff and yet we still we're still not offering more. Where we have, more staff and our students are still, not learning at the rate they should. And I'd love to understand kind of the deputy superintendent, the impact you see that making, because I think we have really good data and really good understanding, and our librarians are really good at telling us every year kind of data, right? Sharing what difference they make, and I'd love to understand what you see the impact of that position having too. So I think
I guess
we're
my
at a
question
point
is,
where every cut we're talking about is going to impact our student achievement.
My question would not be why this or that. If you want me to go find $1.1 million to offset librarians, then let me do that. Don't put me against another position, because when you have a position that impacts the whole, and recognize we haven't had this position, and people are like, we're barely making it. Like I've given up a deputy superintendent on one side. We are trying to create alignment between academic, school leadership, special education. You know, I know it may feel to a lot of people like an unnecessary position, but y'all, we pick up this, when I came into this role, we had 30 Fs. We had a backlog in evaluations. I mean, the number of misalignments in the system, ridiculous. And so now we've been killing ourselves to get back to a place that's stable. And we've had 2 allocations. I've taken 1 away. I've taken the supports away. I've given everything to preserve 1, because if not, then I'm a direct report to about 20 people, all of them. And that may be how it is, but if accountability is 1A as a system, it's going to be hard to pull it off without that being addressed in some way moving forward. So if the question is, Matthias, go find money for the remaining librarians, let me do that. I'm going to request politely to not put it against a position, because that makes it difficult to navigate. Because it's hard, how am I going to say what's more? It's just not a fair question.
Okay, I hear.
I mean, that's just how I feel about it.
I hear a clear answer and a proposed motion, perhaps. So thank you, Trustee De Urioste. I think you were going to say something. Okay. Okay. Do we have further discussion? Do we need a recess? Does someone have a motion? Perhaps in response to what we heard from the superintendent? We have a motion to approve the budget, but does someone have a proposed amendment? Perhaps in response to what we've heard.
I would like to propose an amendment that the superintendent find $1.1 million for librarians.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Trustee Huffman, I think you may have had a question based on the numbers in front of us. Do you?
I missed something where we got to 1.1 instead of 896.
Oh, I thought you read, I'm reading the numbers here. I was over there kind of going through numbers. So 11 and a half allocations using an average salary of 85,000. That yielded 977,500. So I just rounded to $1 million.
Okay. I'm just reading off of the attachment that says the very first item on the list is librarian ratio, $896,790.
Yeah, I mean, I did that back. That's probably the actual calculation. I was using rounding and average.
Yeah, so it's around 900,000 instead of 1.1 million. So.
I need to amend my amendment.
Council, what do we do?
Why don't we just
Withdraw.
And you don't need a number. You just
Okay,
need to
I would like to move that I'd like to make an amendment to the budget that the superintendent find the funds for each school to have 1 librarian.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
What would be the consequences of that amendment that would change the budget that we're voting on?
I mean, what you're doing, so you have a motion to amend the budget by essentially reallocating the dollar amount attributable to librarians at each campus. You have a second, so this is discussion on that, is like, what is the impact of that gonna do?
Well, if we don't know
Are you asking, can you even do that?
what the administration would come back with,
Yeah.
have we then put ourselves in the corner that we're voting for a new budget that has this new variable that we don't know?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd want to do what you did last time, which is take a pause and see.
Well, I guess that the trustees are approving over $1 billion budget. Every line item in the budget is not what there's tens of thousands of lines. So I guess the question becomes, is it as simple as saying, ensure that the approved budget includes because I mean, what I come back with, it may be 9 little things across, 20 things. So it's not going to be, it's just not going to be as clean as you think, or as it could be. Because I don't want to communicate there's like a direct offset. It may just mean I have to go, look at a lot of different things and small things. So to me, it's just keep the budget the same, keep it balanced. It is a balanced budget, y'all. I just want to be clear, like it is a balanced budget. And then say to include the 11 and a half allocations, because I have that authority anyway within the budget.
So what you have to do tonight is approve a budget.
Yeah.
So if you need to move some money, I don't budget anything. So move the money, right? That's what has to happen tonight. Based on this motion to amend the budget is a motion to move some money to allocate some money for a purpose in the budget.
Yeah, so
the motion is not to amend it to account for where it's coming from. But you gotta approve a budget tonight, so there's, like, I don't know what that looks like.
So are you saying we can approve the budget with the plan to restore that, but without knowing where it's coming from yet?
I'm asking you, I mean.
You gotta amend. So guys.
Yeah, we don't have to say where it's gonna come from.
We don't, but do they have to find it before we vote? Kenneth, what's your?
Yeah, no, I think from what I'm hearing, I think currently what's in the proposed budget is different from what you all are asking for. So if you're asking for something different, my opinion is that you need to amend the budget, the proposed budget that the board will vote on.
And would both sides, okay, so if, I guess one question is that people are asking is, does the superintendent have to tell us what he's gonna cut to make up for it tonight?
No.
No.
Okay. If you don't think, I mean, you guys know how to make a budget, so if you don't think you do, and you can bring something back that is your budget and has that allocation, then you can approve that.
Okay, so are we
If
still
it's
in
just-
discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
We are.
I mean.
So I think,
Sorry, Trustee.
so I would say, it sounds like we're allowed to just keep that blank and just expect that you're gonna figure out where to get that money from, Superintendent. I'll just say.
That's what our general counsel is saying.
No, that's not what we're hearing?
Does this
From
mean
our
you?
general counsel, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I mean, I guess my only thought would be, the budget that has been presented, I'm presuming is a balanced budget. And so if the numbers are going to change based on what has been proposed, then it's not going to be balanced. And so I think whatever is submitted to the board for its approval has to be adjusted so that it's a balanced budget, because that's what the work has been.
That's right.
I guess the question I would ask is, the legal document that the board is approving, it's not 10,000 lines, right? It is a PIC code by instructional definition with dollar amounts tied to it, right? That's what the document is. So in this case, you would increase, I believe librarians are within TLL. I think they're going to be within that line item. So increase that by the needed amount. And then I am going to go pull that difference in some way out of all the others. And I guess one of the things that you're going to have to give me the ability, because if I have to come back and give you 9 different things and say, it's 1/10 of this plus maybe 2 allocations, that's going to be difficult to pull off in the time that we have. I think we could find it, but you have to be okay with generally what I'm going to bring back. I don't know.
Yeah, so can I just share my
Sure.
thoughts as part of the deliberation? I worry about that. One of my sort of guiding principles in this whole process has been we don't have too many unknowns. And so I do worry you could come back with some stuff that we dislike equally or more. And then it becomes this never-ending cycle. So but this is no diss on librarians, because I also adore our librarians. So but I also adore transportation and our nurses and bilingual education and, so many other things. So I think it will actually introduce less transparency into the process. So that's my concern.
Reduce the fund
with
balance.
unless, unless you were to come back tonight and say, these are the things that we would cut and actually identify them, I just don't think that we have, I don't think that would be a great use of, I don't know. I just don't think that that's the best path.
Okay, do we have further comments?
I do.
Yes, Trustee Kaufman.
So going back to the transportation hub in relation to this, in order, I know we don't have a fixed cost for that yet, do we? Because you're still working through some of the specifics of where, who's walking to where and how much. So won't those costs fluctuate as well?
Yeah, it's an estimate. I mean, that's, we have to back into what we think is achievable, and then we use that, but it's not out of thin air. We do spend some time thinking through what it could be.
But my point here is that in the spirit of unintended consequences or monkey's paw of being careful what we wish for, like you could conceivably say, we can't provide this, we can't be as flexible with that transportation to make those hubs safe and contributing to attendance if we create an additional strain on getting to the balanced budget. Right, because I'm just thinking of the various things that you're, going to try to do with, that's one in particular where I feel like that's not fully defined how much that's going to cost. And the less flexibility you have with finding money places, the harder it's going to be to create safe places where we maintain good attendance instead of, so I just.
I mean, Trustee Kaufman, to that point, I mean, I've been kind of listening along pretty intently for a little while now, and I think I have a good understanding of where I'd want to stay away from to maybe create consternation on the board. I certainly recognize, transportation, there's details to be worked out. It's an area that we're trying to do the best we can with reduced resources. So I would endeavor to identify those things that limit the impact. But that is a good point. But I wouldn't expect to go to transportation, at least not that aspect of transportation, if that's helpful. Okay. Based on all the things that I've heard over the last several weeks.
And I'm concerned about some of the yo-yo on this, and so I feel like there was, when someone first brought up about a public commitment to not cutting librarians, I was like, well, was it really a public commitment? And then I found it like in writing on May 6th, like, oh yeah, it said right there, we're not cutting librarians. And then situations changed, and then a month later, we're cutting librarians. Campuses received notice on, some of them on Monday, that as a Band 3 school, they will not be losing planning time this year. That will be next year, right? Having cuts to essential areas to result in things. That was on Monday, right? 4 days after we sat here and were told that we have to find $20 million somewhere. And now those same campuses are going to have to go back tomorrow or next week and say, oh, remember what I told you 3 days ago? Never mind. Now we're going to lose essential areas and we're going to have cuts. So I just, that's another thing where in finding $20 million, you found $1.44 million to do that. And now we put $800,000 back in librarians at the same time that we just yanked the rug out from under essential areas teachers and the professional learning communities that those support. So I'm a little worried about the certainty that we've conveyed some of these decisions to people and then we change them. And as much as I absolutely want to restore librarians to every school, I'm also worried about, we already said we're not going to cut you, now we're going to cut you, now we're not going to cut you, as we're in the same process at the same night saying we're not going to reduce your essential areas and your planning time, but now we are. So I don't have a decision yet on what I'm going to vote on this, but that is a huge concern for me. So yeah. I want the communication to be improved on this so that we're not creating stability by making promises that we can't keep.
Yeah, so.
And informing people of decisions that haven't been made yet because the budget has not been approved yet. So we're in no position to tell anyone up until after this vote tonight. Really, there is no way to tell anyone that this is what's going to happen. So that's what I'm worried about right now.
So, Trustee Kaufman, so one thing you could do is just add 900 back, reduce the 20 million that we just found, and then make your fund balance 13.1 and make it 13.01. I mean, that's the one that doesn't require going back. I'll still want to look for it, but it would. absolve us from having to go find and take time to go figure out very quickly how I'd make that up, since it sounds like that's what needs to happen here. And then to the question around staff being impacted until the board votes, I think that's the kind of tension in the system where you want to be transparent with people what's likely to occur, give them time to plan, but then the vote hasn't occurred.
We've talked about this. I
Yeah, so I
understand
just,
that. It's the certainty piece, right? And it's the timing. Like, how did our system disconnect to where on Thursday we're surprised by a suddenly appearing $40 million crisis, and then campus principals, to my understanding, find out today at 3:30, right before the meeting, that, oh, by the way, we're going to have to do Band 3 essential areas and professional learning communities cuts. Like, there's room in between there to say Thursday, oh my God, we have a huge gap that we didn't anticipate until this second. Cancel the letters that are going out on Friday and Monday that we told principals they had to send, that we wrote for them with boilerplate language that makes them inauthentic because they were saying the exact same things with a letter that they sign, right? There's a chance to pull that back instead of putting our principals on the spot to have to communicate, we're proceeding with this. We know it. We're going to continue with this. Like, we are good with essential areas for next year. And then 3 days later, we're here cutting it. And they just found out today, is my understanding. So I'm concerned about that aspect of this, very concerned. So I think there's a piece of like, yeah, we have to let people know that this is what we're aiming for. But we have to keep enough flexibility to say, and it will change if, it may change. Yeah, so I'm just very concerned.
Any further discussion? Trustee Foster.
So where we are is that we have the original motion 16.2 to, 14.2, and then we have a motion to amend.
And we're discussing the motion to amend.
I don't know how to say this succinctly. I feel like we need to wind down to a decision, and that I don't want to say inviting chaos, but we are inviting and introducing more and more variables when we try to make these really important shifts, because we're recognizing the pain that we're experiencing in the system, and the very real pain that's accruing to specific groups of folks all over the system. Every new adjustment is going to introduce a new set of pain, and we might not understand the pain until tomorrow morning. So for me, I'm more interested in drawing back to the budget that was presented to us.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Have an active, what is our active motion right now? Is it
Our
just for the
active
whole?
motion is the motion by Trustee Hunter to amend the budget, and it was seconded by Trustee Gonzalez, to amend the budget to ensure one librarian at each campus. And I think we have heard from the superintendent how he would do that, and that would go into the budget we adopt. That change would be made in the budget we adopt. That's not part of the motion, but he has told us how he would find that money at this point.
Just to clarify, that is an adjustment to the fund balance?
Yes.
Well, no, I asked, when Trustee Kaufman was asking a question, I offered, like, one thing you could do is to keep the budget balance is just go 13.1 to 13.01 in the fund balance, or do that and then ask the superintendent to come back in August with an amendment to kind of solve for the non-staffing cost offset to the 900,000. Like, I think there's a way to do it. I just don't know that it's going to be one item. It's going to be multiple items adjusted in a small way.
So what I hear is that we would make the change to the fund balance policy tonight, so we ensure we have a budget that is amended and changed,
And then
that we can pass, and then you would come back with amendments to probably make that up in other ways.
I think you would ask me to come
In
back with an
August.
amendment
Yeah.
on a specific
I hear
date
that.
to provide.
Okay.
Is it possible to, like, I would love to be able to talk to some of our staff on this before voting on it or hearing from our academics, but, because, well, I just don't know. It's just opening a huge can of worms.
It is.
So I guess maybe let's just vote.
I'd like to share my support. Yeah. I'd like to share my support for this amendment. Losing a full-time librarian at an elementary campus fundamentally changes that campus in a way that I don't see us ever getting back. I have never seen a school or a school district take librarians away and then get those positions back. It will create an extremely inequitable experience at those schools. Full-time librarian staffs, they get extra grants from the school. For the school, they are supporting all different kinds of programming before and after school, all day long. They are making sure, our academic staff is, focusing on phonics and getting those kids to read. The books that they're getting to read from the library is what's motivating them to actually want to read. Like, it's not necessarily fun to learn letter sounds. It's fun because there's that prize at the end that you get. And schools that don't have a full-time librarian just aren't going to have the same rich literary experience. And these cuts have been really heavy on elementary. So we're having larger class sizes. We already spend less per elementary student than we do in secondary because they don't have all these, programs and sports and athletics and all these things that are really, really important to keeping our adolescents engaged. But this is something that fundamentally these, little kids need so that they can become readers and become those middle and high school students that don't have to focus on the basics anymore. So I'd like to have this up for an up or down vote.
Okay. So any further discussion? I'm ready for a vote. Trustee Hunter.
So again, to the superintendent, my original one was, you said you didn't want to pit position to position. I'm already saying the position is important, but can we do without it for a little bit longer till we can figure something else out? That was like, hey, don't do that. Let's go for the okey doke. So then I amended my, I do not want us to have to look at other, we've already cut so much in other places. I really do just want to exchange one for the other. I'm going to change my amendment back to that. Can I amend my amendment?
You can just withdraw.
I'm going to withdraw my amendment then.
Okay. So we no longer have an amendment. So we are back to voting up or down on the budget unless another amendment is made.
That did not go like, wait a minute, that didn't happen. Wait, hold on.
Is that not what you intended?
I'm sorry. So I wanted to withdraw the amendment that I made, and I want to make another amendment. And then you can vote on that amendment, up or down, and we're done about it, okay?
Okay.
Has to get a second, but yeah.
I can't hear you, I'm so sorry.
You have to get a second.
Yeah.
Okay, if I can get a second, then we'll move on from there.
Will you
So-
state it, please?
Yes, I am. I would like to amend the current budget that we have in front of us to find for the superintendent to use the funds that would have been for that position to fund as many librarians as we can, for as many schools as we can.
Say the position.
What?
Say what the position is.
What?
Not that position.
Oh, the deputy superintendent.
Okay. I'm writing, 1 second. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
So it's a motion to amend the underlying motion to approve the budget.
Yes.
By utilizing the funds that would be allocated to the deputy superintendent only, or deputy superintendent, and earlier the first amendment was deputy superintendent support and associated staff positions.
No, just that position.
Just that
Because he
one
said there were two
position.
people already like in those positions.
That was for ombuds.
Oh, that's for ombudsman, okay, well then.
Oh, that's not inaccurate. There's still positions, there's people, those are filled.
So, the position.
So say, just one more time what you want to do.
I would like to amend the underlying budget to ask that the superintendent use the funds for the deputy superintendent to return as many librarians, one to one school, as possible.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
And trustee Quintana had already seconded. Thank you. Okay. So we have a motion by trustee Hunter, a second by trustee Quintana. Do we need to discuss this? I feel like we have discussed. Okay. We have a motion by trustee Hunter, a second by trustee Quintana to amend the current budget for, to call for the superintendent to use the funds for the deputy superintendent position to instead fund as many full-time librarians as possible on campuses that do not have them in the current budget.
So I would say to that a point, and I'm more than sympathetic to what Trustee Whitley Chu is offering in terms of our elementary campuses. And we've talked a lot about the need for an academic vision, and we've talked about the role of the deputy superintendent in facilitating the process by which we come to an academic vision. So then we not holding the administration accountable for the process of constructing an academic vision? There's been a lot of talk about Central, and what I am observing is that we are not going to have a Central with the capacity to do the things that we are asking if we don't have a Central. So that point hasn't been made, so I'll just offer that.
Thank you. Okay. Superintendent, yes.
Yeah, so I appreciate trustee Hunter's item. I think if you want to get the whole, I need time, I can get the whole. One against one makes it hard because you're not going to get the 11 and a half, right? So there's going to be a handful of schools, probably the smallest schools, the most vulnerable schools, that if you're going with the order based, because actually we've done it by enrollment. So we've been going down and then we stopped. If you kept going down, then the smallest of the smallest would be the ones without, unless you flipped it and then smallest ones went up and then there'd be a gap in the middle. I just think you're not too far away if you just take it out of fund balance, give me the 3 or 4 weeks, come back. There will be modifications, probably some within the department, but to just shed it to offset and not get the whole, I think I could get it, but it's going to require going 13.1 to 13.01. That is the easiest thing to do, and it'll give me,
So trustee Hunter's amendment doesn't get you whole on the librarians?
No, it's 6.5. Yeah, it doesn't get you all the way. What was it?
It's 540.
4? No, but halves? 4 halves. Okay. Sorry, I saw a text that was wrong, so 4 halves.
Okay. So are we going to vote on this?
I hate to belabor and procedurally, I don't want to get into a quagmire. What sounds reasonable to me would be what I'm hearing the superintendent saying is to facilitate ease of the timing on this, we can take it out of the fund balance now and say that that's balancing it, and then in that same amendment, require the superintendent to come back with an amendment proposal, a budget amendment in August, and then we can see where the money is actually going to come from. So you can get the full amount of positions and know where the money is coming from. Right now, what we're talking about is eliminating one position, doesn't get all of the librarians, and is inducing strain under the superintendent's description of it. So I would prefer to hear a proposal that reduces the strain on administration while still getting us all of the librarian positions. So, I don't know if it's easier for trustee Hunter, if she wants to withdraw her amendment, or for me to amend her amendment.
No, it's not. She can either withdraw. I would say either she withdraws it or y'all just vote it down, just vote on it, and then make a new motion if you want to amend.
Okay, so let's vote on this. And then okay. So we have a motion by trustee Hunter, second by trustee Quintana, to amend the current budget for the superintendent to use the funds for the deputy superintendent to fund as many librarians as we can. We have heard discussion, including input from the superintendent. All in favor of this, raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Looks like they really don't like the allocation for the deputy.
And any abstaining? Okay, so I counted 3 in favor, 1 abstention, 5 against. Is that correct? Okay, so that amendment fails. Trustee Kaufman?
I'm just, I move to restore the 1.0 librarian at every campus in support of maintaining our vision and values for literacy and campus culture.
Second.
Do we have any discussion?
What are the implications of that?
Everything we just discussed around fund balance, around finding alternate, trade-offs for in August, whatever.
They did part of the motion. Right now, you're just pushing down fund balance.
Right now, it's a deficit.
I'm okay with that, but.
It's a deficit now, so he has to include it in his motion.
Yeah.
So it has to be included in the motion, the offset,
Unless you want to adopt a deficit.
to create a balanced budget.
Go back to the original then. I move to add a 1.0 librarian per campus back to the budget with offsetting costs initially from the fund balance, with an expectation or directive to the superintendent to seek and find alternate offsets to be proposed in a budget amendment in August.
Second.
So that is still a balanced budget, because what's contributing to the fund balance instead of 20 million is now going to be 19,100,000.
Yes.
And then an amendment to come back, and this is from my understanding, so an amendment to come back in August with the offsets to the budget to communicate the restoration of the 13.01% to the 13.1. That's what I heard. And I would appreciate that if we're going to do something.
Okay.
We could do that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Trustee Kaufman, a second by Trustee Gonzalez, to move to add a full librarian to each campus and to offset that by reducing our fund balance with a plan to bring an amendment in August to restore the fund balance with alternate cuts that are to be found by the superintendent. All in favor, please raise your.
Discussion?
We can have discussion, yes.
I'm so sorry.
No, this is, these are.
Okay, so guys, essentially, so essentially we're saying that if there's anything in the whole budget that we could add more money to, this is it. It would be librarians. That's what I'm hearing. And I'm like, I'm not sure, like that makes it really difficult because we're being asked to vote on one specific thing when there might be several things that are just as important. And I feel like I am not in support of doing anything that reduces the fund balance because I know that our enrollment projections are too optimistic. And I think we're going to our balanced budget is going to be balanced for 1 month until, school starts and we're going to have a deficit budget, basically. And our actual budget will be a deficit budget almost immediately. I feel like we need to have as much cushion as we can in our fund balance. So I would not use the fund balance as the crutch. I would not sacrifice that because we need that cushion. Several folks have raised questions about the assumptions that we have for enrollment in ADA. So that cushion is there to protect us a little bit. And so I probably will not be supporting this, but again, it's not because of librarians. It's because of I'm very conservative fiscally, and I want to preserve some wiggle room there in case our enrollment numbers drop.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot one more thing. And Matthias, how much are we going to have to cut for the 27-28 budget, by the way?
60 million.
60 million. And you all are going to be proposing the first draft of that to us in October.
I think assumptions go first, and then, yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's going to start happening pretty
The work
soon.
is, yeah, we already know kind of the direction that we would have to go in some
Okay.
cases.
So I think it's just important for us to remember that context, because we're immediately going to have to be considering really tough cuts again, just a few months from now. And adding more staff is going to make it harder to do that, because, staff are people. So I think about the disruption as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Hunter?
Yes to all of that, right? We have been making decisions since the agreed order, and we've been doing things and behaving in a way that's counterintuitive to what we really believe, because we want to preserve this district. And I ask myself, what am I preserving? Like, what am I preserving if everything I'm doing is not what we had to begin with? So I want to be fiscally responsible. That's why I want to do the other way. But if this works, then this works. But out of this misery must come some joy. Now, there's 100 other things we could be doing. There is. But then I'm thinking about the outcome and the greatest impact. I think transportation is super important. It gets kids where they need to be so they can learn, right? I think that all of these other things are super important because they add to the outcome. But when I think about like what's most directly gonna touch them, it's this. So could I spend my money on something different? Yes. But it's this thing. So nothing you've said I disagree with, but I want this one thing. Because we have been cutting and, again, behaving counterintuitively and doing things because it was the best decision to preserve the district. Let's just do a good thing.
Superintendent, I have a question about something Trustee Gonzalez asked, which is whether our librarians who would be full-time at some of our smaller campuses might be used to support campuses and students in additional ways. And that could be a conversation, obviously, with campuses and librarians. But, that I know you were looking for a middle ground when you asked that. And I hear Trustee saying that, there's a very long list of things I would love to bring back. And I hear Trustee Hunter that would bring us real joy. Right, and that we are to a place. We had a caller call us who identified herself as a teacher and talked about how deeply people care about student success, right? And I know that about our teachers and our families and our board and our city and our administration. I know that about all of us, and I know, and the people who've shaped this budget, and I know that is why this is so hard. Because we are cutting things that impact our students and that impact the people who support our students up and down the district. And as painful as all of this is, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we have fought to protect so many things that do matter. And we haven't eliminated librarians. We've changed it in ways that are going to be hard, right? And are going to make the job harder, and that are going to keep those libraries not open every single day. And yet we still have librarians when some districts don't. And we have protected fine arts, even though it's going to look a little different on some of our campuses. And that's hard, but we haven't eliminated it. And I think we're working really hard to protect all the great things that are the things that make people love our schools and value our schools, and the things that help us make sure students are getting what they need. And we're moving toward that as a body in a way I've never seen this city do, to really make sure we're talking about every student and bringing more instead of talking about every student and bringing less. So I hear that pain. And I'm struggling a little bit with, why this and not all those other things. And I share your worry a little bit, Trustee Singh, that we could get to a place where the bus doesn't work and we have to pivot really quickly and find money, where there are a lot of things, and it's, yeah, I'm torn. So, okay, any other comments before we vote? We've talked about this for a long time. Okay, so we have now a motion by Trustee Kaufman and a second by Trustee Gonzalez to add a full librarian to each campus, and to offset that with costs from our fund balance temporarily, and for the superintendent to bring an amendment in August, identifying another source for those funds. So all in favor of that, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? And the motion passes 6-9. Thank you. 6-3, sorry, not 6-9, 6-3. That was a lot of, yeah, a lot of discussion. Okay, thank you all. And Superintendent Segura, thank you for helping us navigate that and really being clear about what was going to be workable and what was going to cause you problems, and what you need from us to do the things that we in our community have asked of you. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
Took us a long time to get there. Okay, I think we are ready to approve the budget as amended. So having a motion by Secretary Foster and a second by Trustee Singh to approve item 14.2 now as amended, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? And any abstaining? My math will be better this time. We voted 7 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstaining. And we have a budget. So thank you all for everyone who has done all of that there to get us here. Okay. So we have 2 more things to vote on, but we will go into open session first, and it's 2 personnel matters. So we will now recess the open meeting at 11:38 p.m. and move to executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.074, 551.072, 551.073, 551.087, 551.076, 551.0821, and 551.071. When we finish with the executive session, we will briefly return to the open session to vote on the terminations and to formally adjourn the meeting. The adjournment will be recorded and included in all replays of tonight's meeting. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening. Okay, we will now reconvene the open meeting at 12:40 a.m. Vice President Gonzalez, we have a motion to approve item 16.1.
Yes, I move to approve item 16.1, non-renewal of a professional employee at end-of-term contract, LL.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Trustees, is there any discussion? Right, having a motion by Vice President Gonzalez, a second by Trustee Singh to approve item 16.1. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion passes by all those on the dais. Do we have a motion to approve item 16.2?
Yes, I move to approve item 16.2, proposed termination of professional employee during a term contract, KD.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right. Having a motion by Vice President Gonzalez, a second by Trustee Quintana to approve item 16.2. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion passes by all those on the dais. Vice President Gonzalez, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
The meeting is adjourned at 12:42 a.m. Thank you.